This is my planet. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Long Xiao. I've been wondering, did Long Xiao really just lose my shuttle of time and edge of space? Xia Guixuan looked at her face and smiled playfully. If it was a little fox, she might choose to discard it, but it was the Fox King. She would definitely choose to use it. I couldn't guess how she would use it now that she was dead, whether she hid it somewhere for the future. But when I saw your portable wormhole, I knew it. Ling Moxu in the distance took a deep breath. No wonder after he started to follow the queen, Xia Guixuan had a playful smile as if he had discovered something fun. That's not a portable wormhole built by Zelter technology, but a space-time channel built by my space-time magic weapon. The shuttle of time and the edge of space are in the hands of the queen. Xia Guixuan smiled happily as if he had solved a mystery. Why is the thing that the Fox King is trying to use in the hands of the Queen of Zelter? The queen said lightly. Is it because of this? Of course it's not just that, but the state of the Fox King has always been an unsolved mystery in my heart. Xia Guixuan smiled. To be honest, I really never thought that there would be a cultivator who dared to place his residual soul in the soul sea of a person without a form to coexist. If there's, it must be a conspiracy to seize the body, but why choose a person without a form to seize the body? That's too difficult. It's better to just find someone to be a portable grandfather or system, and wait for him to cultivate to the level of Tengai Huayang. Wouldn't it be much smoother to seize the body, Queen, if it's not for the purpose of taking over another's body, but just to embed the soul, then you are simply a naive person who would send it. Because there are many places to hide the soul, there is no reason to embed it in the soul sea of a formless person and face the risk of her swallowing you up at any time. Xia Guixuan paused and asked, so are you plotting to take over another's body, or are you a naive person? The queen said lightly, why can't you completely trust Shang Xiaoi? Isn't that just a naive person? Shang Xiaoi's loyalty is one thing, and whether you dare is another. To be honest, I wouldn't dare to do that. Even if I were you, I wouldn't dare to trust the loyalty of my subordinates, because people will change, and I can't predict what this loyal subordinate will think in the future. Xia Guixuan laughed, but the Fox King would actually be such a pure naive person, which puzzled me. I thought about it and suddenly thought of a possibility. What possibility? To kill the three corpses. The peak of formless practice is exactly the time to do this. Xia Guixuan laughed like a husky like my original self, a soul embedder with good thoughts, and an evil corpse. Here, evil corpse. Guangxin Jiu and Ling Moxu, who were listening in, suddenly understood some things that they couldn't understand. If it was the Fox King who took the queen's body, why did he keep attacking Kang Longstar? There should have been other developments. Because it was an evil corpse. Perhaps in her mind, hatred for humans was more important than closeness to the descendants of gods. For her, occupying the queen's body was a convenient cornerstone for revenge. What's more, no one could tell how close she was to the descendants of gods. Ling Moxu thought of the queen's past in the video. When the queen became the god of the beastmen, did she have the same feelings towards her original race as before? History has proved that it is difficult. History has also proved that counterattack is also possible. When I watched the promotional video of the queen, I was thinking that the sense of deja vu was too strong. The queen's situation and the queen's choices were almost like watching the story of another Fox King. Xia Guixuan's smile faded and turned into a soft sigh. She took the initiative to merge with you, right? Your souls resonated strongly, almost looking at yourself in the mirror, and you just happened to have the need to merge. What need? She hates her ugly appearance. The combined life form of her and the beastman is a very ugly creature. The fusion with you can improve this. The fox tribe's various illusions and the flesh and blood genes attached to the treasure can bring a beautiful face. The queen was completely silent. Apart from the needs of appearance, there is also the spirit. Xia Guixuan sighed. She hates the curse that she is powerless to break free from, and is a puppet living to find a man. Not only does she hate such a fate, but such an involuntary soul is also a step that hinders her own progress. She can never improve herself, and she will never escape this fate, a vicious cycle. If you want to break free, you must first destroy it. The queen suddenly revealed a charming smile. After destruction, merge with a fox in the other mirror, reshape a new soul and body. That is a new life. Do you admit it? So this new life may not be a fox born because of you, respected Father God. Xia Guixuan sighed. This is why the Fox King wants to break free and wants to merge into new life. So you are all looking in the mirror, resonating unparalleled, with completely consistent thoughts, and merging without any rejection. But, he paused, with some sadness in his eyes, I have never wanted to make any constraints on the descendants of God. Why do you have to? The Queen shook her head slightly. No matter what Father God thinks, this is the path of breaking the sky that I chose myself. Of course, I was going to be blown to death at that time. The situation was urgent and I didn't have time to think too much. I was forced to kill the 3 corpses, not planned. When the 3 corpses are killed, the evil thoughts are here. I am no longer myself, let alone Father God. That's all I have to say. She is not completely the Fox King Long Yao, but the soul fusion of the Fox King and the Queen. There is no one who is the master, because the thoughts of the two are consistent. However, if the Queen wants to abandon the curse of being a puppet, then she will first abandon her original identity and name. The real name has spirituality, and it must be killed when it comes to cause and effect. Now she is indeed called Long Yao. So no matter where she goes, it seems that no one mentions the Queen's name. It's not because of reverence or taboo, but because she is deliberately diluting her original name. When everyone is about to forget what her original name was, she can be called Long Yao. Xia Guixuan said, I have one last question. Long Yu bowed slightly. Please ask for the sake of Father God. Although the 3 corpses are connected to each other, they are independent of each other and cannot know what each other is doing or thinking. Xia Guixuan looked a little serious, and asked word by word, but your situation is different. You are much stronger than Xiaoru, and much stronger than the good thoughts of the remnant soul. Can you sense what they are doing, and, can you exert a certain influence? Long Yu laughed. It is my honor that Father God really likes the little fox. I like her, not you. What are you honored for? Do you really think she is a person? Long Yu didn't take it as an offense. And whispered, I can't influence Yin Xiaoru, because in essence she is the main body, the self, and the blood essence. I can only influence her if I get in close contact with her, which is impossible outside this distant star field. He only mentioned Yin Xiaoru, not the remnant soul that was deposited in Shang Xiaoi's soul sea. That remnant soul could be influenced. Good and evil, and good was so weak at this time that it was difficult for him to speak clearly. In other words, she might cause trouble under your influence. Xia Guixuan looked at Long Yao who was floating in the sky, and slowly said, You have touched the reverse scale, Queen. Long Yao laughed dumbly. Since we are enemies, what is the reverse scale? I even prepared to kill you. Do you think you can forgive me? I could have, but I don't need your forgiveness, respected Father God. I just want to get your energy. The two sides seemed to talk for a long time, but in fact it was just the band of divine thoughts that flashed through, and the conversation lasted only a few breaths. The dark demon was under the continuous attack of the priest group and the energy storm, and it was increasingly unable to resist the absorption of the fossils. It became weaker and weaker, and only the ineffective bombardment was left, but it was completely blocked by a faint space isolation. That was the independent time and space formed by the shuttle of time and the edge of space. The fossil has changed from the original blood beating, and began to have a dark red color, just like the red moon before. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, Actually, I don't know why you think you can hunt me. You must have another trump card. To be honest, I'm quite weak. After all, I'm not like someone who dares to think he's awesome without knowing the enemy. Gongsun Jiayu. Xia Guixuan ignored her, looked at the violent dark demon, and smiled slightly. But you seem to have forgotten one thing. I am not alone. Long Yu asked curiously, are you relying on that female sword servant? It's good enough that she doesn't hold you back. No, because I can still cooperate with this young demon, don't you think? Xia Guixuan grinned, and the Junte sword suddenly bloomed, and the sword light cut into the vortex between the dark demon and the fossil. The bright sword light illuminated the world, and the lightning in the sky was eclipsed. Long Yu widened his eyes. I have never seen such a shameless taking peek. Chapter 202, Godslayer. Long Yao never expected that this taking peek was so unsportsmanlike that he actually took the initiative to attack an opponent weaker than himself, and even gave up the original demon-killing plan and saved the dark demon first, just to fight an opponent of a lower level together. Do you have any shame? If I had known you were so shameless, I wouldn't have said so much to you. In the minds of many people, including Long Yao, a strong person should have such bearing and confidence. Even if I know that you have prepared a method that you think can deal with me, I will wait for you to use it. and then crush it with a crushing punch, so that you, an ant, can feel what despair is, know what real power is, let you know how big the gap is between level XX and level XX, and how ridiculous it is to see that your self-proclaimed calculation is actually just the struggle of an ant. In other places, when the queen sees that the opponent who is much weaker than herself is secretly playing some tricks, she may also show such confidence and jokingly watch what the opponent can do. Many people will scold this kind of boss as a fool when reading novels. They know that the opponent has a trump card to deal with you, but they still pretend to be cool without thinking. They will abandon the book when they see let you know the gap between level XX and level XX. When it comes to me, it's normal, it's human nature. Now Xia Guixuan is the boss that Long Yao wants to fight. However, Xia Guixuan has experienced peaks and valleys, served as the queen of Xia, and fallen into the abyss. He practiced hard from the humble period to taking, and then was seriously injured and hid. During this period, he didn't know how many battles he had experienced, how many lives and deaths he had witnessed, how many forces he had observed, and how many sad stories he had heard. He was really a person who looked down on others. I'm afraid he should have been a remnant soul a few times earlier. He knew deeply that how many strong people who should not have fallen had fallen under this mentality and became a brilliant page in the story of the protagonists who defeated the strong with the weak. Cool? Let the other party prepare a plan for half a day, but it was destroyed first, and vomited blood. Why is it not cool? Only the winner has the qualification to talk about temperament. The dead are the background board of the story that sets off the wisdom and courage of the protagonist. The real invincibility is not only strength, but also the rationality to match it. Even if it is really possible to crush it at will, Bai was cautious 10,000 times. As long as it is meaningful once, it will not be a loss. As it turns out, this time is very meaningful. The second after Long Yao cursed him for being unethical, a crack quietly appeared in the void behind Xia Guixuan, and a red moon rose slowly. It was the one that Xia Guixuan had repelled and escaped into the void on the red moon mind star. This means that if the queen had not arranged this thing, she would at least know about it, and had already found a way to control it secretly. It also means that the moment Xia Guixuan bombarded the red moon, the queen knew of his existence, and it was always the final link in the plan. At the same time as the red moon appeared, the fossil seemed to be attracted, and a dark red light was faintly connected to the red moon, like a planet connected to a satellite. The vortex swelled wildly and was about to engulf the dark demon in an instant. The surging vortex obviously also covered Xia Guixuan and Gongsun Jiu at the same time. The Tai Chi diagram that Xia Guixuan used to protect Gongsun Jiu was actually unable to protect it at all, and it shattered inch by inch. Xia Guixuan immediately waved his hand. And Gongsun Jiu had been transferred to a distant celestial body. He staggered 2 steps and just stood firm. Ling Moxa held the sword to protect him. Before he could even exchange a word, the 2 Zelt priests appeared in front of him. I thought I was a burden, but I didn't expect that I was actually useful. The mission is to protect you, Ling Moxa smiled speechlessly, and the Zuanil sword came out. That's right, in addition to the War of Gods, this is also a battlefield for us normal humans in Zelt. Thank you. Gongsun Jiu's battle suit restarted and took out the iron gun. Her strength is not enough. But the power of this top-level firearm is still a certain threat to the Zelt priests. This is indeed still a battlefield for humans, because no matter who is fighting the gods over there, it seems that they don't have the strength to take care of them. The blood-colored vortex has completely covered all the space, and it is impossible to see what is happening over there. When the red moon and the fossils pulled each other, the terrifying vortex was not doubled, but increased by dozens of times, just like a torch dropped into an explosives warehouse. It can be imagined that if the dark demon is successfully absorbed by the fossil, it will not be a torch, but the mutual devouring infusion of 2 black holes. How can life in this survive? Except for the Supreme God, no one dares to eat directly in the center, right? And Long Yao constructed an independent time and space with Xia Guixuan's time and space treasure, controlling everything in an independent plane. She and the priest group are in external remote control and can attack inward, but the internal damage cannot be dispersed. A hunting god in a jar. But after being destroyed by Xia Guixuan in advance, it became a large and a small red moon, with different masses and deviations. It couldn't restrain Xia Guixuan, and even the dark demon that was cut off from attraction had the ability to escape, just like a person trapped in a swamp only needs someone to put a rope. Swoosh, the dark energy disappeared, forming a terrible vacuum collapse on the spot, as if it was going to trap Xia Guixuan. Long Gao was also speechless. This dark demon would not feel grateful or share the same hatred. It was a collection of dark energy and negative will. It would only pit anyone, including teammates. I really didn't know what Xia Guixuan was thinking. She didn't have time to study what Xia Guixuan was thinking, because the dark energy around her began to roar. Without the suction of the red moon, the so-called independent time and space could not restrain the dark demon at all, because the dark energy of the universe was everywhere, and its will could be in any position at any time, and it didn't need a specific body at all. The terrifying dark energy surged around Long Gao, and the seriously injured dark demon took out a posture of dying together. The lethality that erupted was far more than the exile played in the human warship. That was the fury of the most negative demon. It was completely furious. The Zelt fleet bombarded me, the human fleet bombarded me, Xia Guixuan wanted to kill me, and the queen also wanted to suck me. This fucking seed is a demon god, not dough. You need to bear the wrath of the demon god. Boom. Long Gao was also a fake taking, and was blown away by the angry explosion. The protective treasure in his hand was blown into nothingness before he could even see its appearance. All the high-level priests formed a formation to defend themselves, but the power of the collective formation could not withstand this explosion. Several priests were torn into pieces, and they turned into ashes before they could even split their spores. The remaining ones were also seriously injured and flew back, and they dared not get involved in the taking-level god war again. With just one blow, the Zelt god hunting game completely collapsed. Where is Xia Guixuan? Is he still in the center of the black hole and can't get out? A shining divine sword suddenly appeared behind Long Gao, shooting like a meteor and cutting through the void. It's not an exaggeration. It really cut through the universe. Wherever it passed, the space collapsed, all the energy was washed away, and all the life passing by was completely destroyed and returned to the beginning. Tao is the ultimate essence, which cannot be shaped or named. If it is forced, it is called Tai. The ultimate skill that Xia Guixuan couldn't use before his injury was greatly recovered, Tai's sword. He really wanted all the lives in front of him to die and return to the origin. Whether it was Long Gao or the dark demon, they all died. So fierce. Xia Guixuan, UTM, how could the dark demon, who had just gathered the last of his strength to burst out a wave, withstand such a skill? Before he could even finish a curse, the sword light rolled over and everything returned to the origin. Do you really think I'm taking you as a comrade? You are just a chess piece I used to disrupt the situation. Xia Guixuan's thoughts floated in the void. I told you a long time ago that you are very low, and I never regarded you as taking. I have accomplished this mission, and I have done my job well. The vast dark energy spread throughout the universe, but there was no Yunshin. The dark energy demon god, who was born 500 years ago, fell. The sword did not stop and continued to travel, and all the high-level priests in the direction of the sword's trajectory died. And where is Long Gao? Where is Xia Guixuan's real body? P.S. The first half of the chapter is not meant to be sarcastic. Yesterday's chapter said that I was not unhappy, because I really thought this phenomenon was interesting and worth thinking about. In fact, I often think so myself, just based on different perspectives. It can be regarded as adding some material for ridicule to the novel. If any brothers feel offended, I apologize here. By the way, I recommend the book The Man Behind the Empress, a story about a workplace man and an ancient empress who swap bodies every other day. Fast forward to the back position, a harem article. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203. At the critical moment of making a choice, Long Gao has only one place to go. That is the independent space-time constructed based on her magic weapon, that is, between the two red moons where Xia Guixuan is. Xia Guixuan has never gone out. Long Gao doesn't think that Xia Guixuan will have no way out, but she doesn't have time to think about what Xia Guixuan is thinking at this moment. Tai Divine Sword has almost taken her life. Fortunately, the space-time she constructed herself has its own channel for transmission, and she directly replaced it, otherwise she would have died under Xia Guixuan's attack. It's terrible. This is the Father God. Once upon a time, I thought that my Father God was at most an early taking. I didn't expect it to be such a terrifying life. Being in the center of two black holes, he dared to stay and not go out, and he could also distract himself to release a big move, killing the guard with one blow, and almost killed himself. Long Yao believes that, let alone when the dark demon is at its weakest, even in its prime, the sword just now might be able to kill it. Because she can clearly feel that the material of the sword itself is specially used to counter the dark demon. It can be seen that Xia Guixuan's war preparations are prepared according to the dark demon's recovery to its prime, rather than as a wounded opponent. It can be seen that he clearly despised the dark demon in his heart, but in fact he tried to overestimate it. I really can't see that he is so strong and still so cautious. And he is ruthless and shameless. Is this the reason why he can reach the top of taking, while he was forced to behead 3 corpses early? Maybe. Of course, there is no way to let the dark demon come back to life and try to kill it again in its prime. Long Yao is not in the mood. She has been teleported to an independent time and space at this time, not just to escape, but also to fight back. She has always been a determined fox king and queen, not a weak woman who is at a loss when facing a crisis. The location where Long Yao teleported was of course not between the 2 big and small red moons, but hiding behind the big red moon, and then reaching out to the red moon at the first time. Her real killer is not the mutual devouring of the 2 red moons, but the explosion after the mutual devouring reaches a certain extent. It can be completely referred to the black hole devouring and black hole explosion. Although the principles are different, they are very similar, and the power is better than that of ordinary black holes. I believe that the top of taking can't bear that kind of power. This is indeed something that can threaten Xia Guixuan. It was just that Xia Guixuan released the dark demon troublemaker to mess things up at the beginning. She didn't even have time to operate the accelerated swallowing to cause the explosion. Now that it was activated, she hoped that Xia Guixuan had not yet realized that the real crisis was here. But as soon as she touched the red moon, Long Yao's heart sank. She was clearly accelerating the swallowing, but why did she feel that the small red moon formed by the fossil was farther away? It was so far away that it seemed to be separated by a dimension. Concentrating her mind and sensing, it turned out that a huge cauldron shadow appeared under the fossil, and the mouth of the cauldron seemed to swallow the fossil red moon in one gulp. It was like a heavenly dog swallowing the moon. Long Yao almost vomited blood. Xia Guixuan was actually trying to collect her treasure. No. It's not so urgent to collect it. At least he should kill someone and then take the treasure. Xia Guixuan could see where the real threat was from the beginning to the end, and he was always trying to prevent the fusion and explosion of the 2 red moons. He did not leave the dangerous place immediately as usual, and he was always in the center of the vortex, just to curb further danger. Because if he wanted to take the 2 burdens away, maybe nothing would happen, but the human fleet not far away would definitely be gone. Long Yao couldn't help but have a little respect in her heart. How many battles did this father god experience? How many life and death experiences did he have, to be able to see so clearly at a glance? And, how affectionate is he? Since he had seen it long ago, he could have left on his own, regardless of the life and death of humans, so what did the explosion have to do with him? Why take such a risk? Long Yao couldn't help but distract herself to sense the battle between Ling Moxu and Gongsun Jiayu over there. They were dealing with the 2 high-level halls that she had separated before, one light and one dark. Although the 2 halls had the upper hand, they couldn't take it down for a while. That Ling Moxu was very powerful, and also exceeded Long Yao's expectations. It's just a small game. Distracted observation did not affect Long Yao's operation. She flipped her slender hand, took out something shaped like a bell, and shook it gently. A mysterious wave rippled between the 2 red moons. The red moon seemed to be alive. The fossilized little red moon captured by the Yuanding struggled desperately, trying to jump out of the prison, and the big red moon actually took the initiative to crash into Xia Guixuan. Considering the size of the satellite, this collision was both an attack and a response to the little red moon, actively crashing and swallowing it. A sound-controlled magic weapon, resonating with the small cells inside? No wonder you can drive this thing. Xia Guixuan smiled and suddenly stretched out his hand. A small bell suddenly appeared. The vacuum seemed to have a clang sound, transcending the medium and the carrier. That was not a sound. It was an ancient sound. Dong Huang Bell. The magic transmitted by the bell disappeared without a trace. The bell shook wildly, and cracks appeared, and it was scrapped. My treasure has serious defects and can't exert much power. It's usually not used. It's just right for you. Xia Guixuan smiled and suddenly disappeared. Long Yao also disappeared immediately, leaving only her graceful afterimage. Xia Guixuan pinched her residual image with one claw, and it seemed that the attack missed. But on the other side of the red moon, Long Yu showed up and suddenly spit out a mouthful of blood. The residual image also has the breath of the main body, which can be related. Don't use this trick in the future, provided that you have a future. Xia Guixuan's eyes were cold, and the sword of Gente appeared in the void again. In fact, he couldn't use the Taiyi divine sword for the second time. After all, his injuries were not healed. Using such skills more often would affect his injuries. Moreover, more of his strength was still controlling the Yu wanting to collect the red moon, and resisting the traction of the red moon. At this time, Xia Guixuan was not as relaxed as he looked on the surface. Otherwise, Long Yu might not be able to avoid this grab alone. This red moon is indeed very troublesome. However, he doesn't have to use skills like the Taiyi divine sword. Conventional attacks are enough to take down Long Yu. At most, he will have to fight for a few moves. Swoosh, the sword of Gente broke through the red moon vortex and instantly reached Long Yu's throat. A strange metal shield appeared in Long Yao's hand. Xia Guixuan couldn't recognize what material it was made of for a while. Maybe this is Zelter's own treasure? The metal shield glowed with a faint blue luster, and it collided with the sword of Gente. There was no sound, and only a circle of ripples could be seen on the blue energy light curtain pierced by the sword tip. The ripples spread more and more, and the energy was reduced, as if it was about to pierce through. Long Yao looked calm, and slowly retreated against the shield until she was away from the edge of this independent space and time. At the same time, the rotation of the two red moons suddenly began to reverse, time and space were pulled, and the space was chaotic. A wormhole appeared behind her. She wanted to run. Xia Guixuan frowned and had a little headache for a while. Queen Zelter was certainly not a weakling. She was a fake-taking after all. Conventional attacks could not kill her in seconds, which would of course give her a chance to escape. It was difficult to win quickly when the red moon was distracted and suppressed, which meant it was difficult to stop her from running away. If we give up Hongyu and try our best to kill her first, we are afraid that if we fail to control her, the surrounding hundreds of light years will be blown up. Long Yao was also a little nervous. How would the Father God choose? At this moment, a new change occurred. There was a wave of magic in the distance, and a vast expanse of ice crystals shattered, revealing the Zeld fleet that was previously frozen. The absolute freeze was dissolved, and the warships were unsealed. Xia Guixuan's expression finally changed. It was the escaped Zeld priest who managed to unfreeze the warships. Most of the warships retreated as a whole, and only one cruiser rushed over. The target was Guangxin Jiayu and Ling Moxu. Ling Moxu was also dumbfounded. He and Guangxin Jiayu cooperated to fight the opponent's priests. Although they were at a disadvantage, they could still hold on. In fact, Ling Moxu still felt that if there were two more priests who escaped from the other side, he could still barely hold on. As long as the master was done, his mission would be completed. I didn't expect the warships to appear. What the hell is this? Turning his head to look at Xia Guixuan, he obviously couldn't split himself for a while. This was obviously a change that even Long Yao and Xia Guixuan had not expected. Long Yao was stunned for a moment, and suddenly laughed. Interesting. Terrible and respectable Father God, I suddenly want to know how you will choose. Rescue Ling Moxu. Long Yao will definitely run away, and may even run away with half of the red moon fossils he collected. Kill Long Yao, Ling Moxu and Gong Sunjiu are also finished, and the red moon may explode and cause the human fleet to be finished. Collect the red moon. Long Yao ran away, Ling Moxu and Gong Sunjiu are also gone, but he can get a very powerful treasure, which may also involve the research of the supreme way. Save people, kill people, collect treasures. You must choose one of the three. If you try your best, you may choose two. Ling Moxu knows very well how interested Xia Guixuan is in this red moon. He has been interested in it since the red moon mind star. He said that this battle was to prevent the red moon from exploding, but in fact he had selfish motives. He just wanted to collect the red moon. No one understands Xia Guixuan's pursuit of the Tao better than Ling Moxu, which is above everything else. But if she covets the red moon for a moment longer, she will be gone. Ling Moxu looked at Gongsun Jiayu, who was also silent beside her. She didn't know if Gongsun Jiayu could think of the twists and turns here. She bit her silver teeth lightly and sighed in her heart. She didn't expect to die with this annoying person. Boom, the warship fired a shell. Ling Moxu closed her eyes. The expected death did not come. When she opened her eyes, Xia Guixuan stood in front of her, grabbed the shell with one hand, and threw it back with force. The warship turned into flames and exploded in the void. Pieces of wreckage floated in all directions. The death that was close at hand turned into a silent movie. A large tripod was suspended beside her, and it was unknown whether there was a red moon in it. And Long Yao and the larger red moon had already flown away and disappeared without a trace. I don't know if it was all lost. But Ling Moxu behind her was too lazy to calculate anything. Her pretty face unconsciously smiled, like a flower blooming in this explosion of blood and fire. Chapter 204 The Little Fox is on an outing, a war spanning the star field, a game between the three ticking, if the young demon that was bombarded by everyone is also counted. No matter how brilliant and fierce a war is, it will eventually come to an end, and all the prosperity will return to peace. Guangxin Jiu returned to the Galaxy battleship, and the soldiers had just escaped from exile, and they didn't even know what had happened. In fact, the battle just now seemed to be very long, but if you really count it by human time, it probably didn't even last 3 minutes. The battleship that Zelter had released from the ice had already retreated in advance under the Queen's mind control, and the human battleships had also reached the time to return. There was no point in staying any longer. The fleet was returning in a mighty manner, but the atmosphere among the people was a little weird. People only knew that Captain Xia and Ling Moxu appeared beside the marshal. It was said that they appeared and repelled the dark demon and saved everyone. No one knew how these two could travel to the inside of the battleship to help everyone repel the dark demon, but the fact was that after being invaded and exiled by the dark demon, everyone woke up intact. The marshal said that it was Captain Xia who saved them, so it was Captain Xia who saved them. Maybe Captain Xia was lying in ambush in other hidden cabins before. He was the marshal's personal advisor and it was normal for him to have a secret mission. There was nothing to be serious about. The soldiers paid the highest respect to Captain Xia and Princess Ling for saving the fleet, but the two heroes did not enjoy the respect, but hid in the rest cabin. Everyone understands that they need to rest after fighting. Well, as for why the two of them used the same rest cabin, people secretly glanced at the marshal. The marshal had no expression on his face, just standing quietly in the command room and whispered, "I blame myself." People who didn't know the inside story didn't think the marshal needed to blame himself. Although there were mistakes in judgment, didn't he win? A great victory. On the way back, there was a usual jubilation and noise, but Guangxin Jiu couldn't fit in everyone's joy, and returned to his cabin in a depressed mood. Xia Guixuan and Ling Moxu were next door. I don't know what they are doing at the moment. I don't know if Xia Guixuan suffered any loss in this battle. What kept echoing in Guangxin Jiu's mind was still the arm that tightly protected him under the thunder. And at the last moment, he blocked in front of him and caught the cannonball of the warship with his bare hands. He gave up a lot for Ling Moxu. But was part of it also for him, Guangxin Jiu? Maybe. In the previous hug, he might have discovered something. He saved not only Ling Moxu, but also Xiaoju. Ling Moxu thought that only she knew the master's pursuit of the Tao, but in fact Xiaoju also knew that bosom friends are always mutual. At this time, the two women had the same thoughts. They really had never thought that Xia Guixuan, who seemed to put the Tao above everything else, would resolutely give up Honggao and give up the pursuit of the enemy, just for a slave girl and a gun buddy in the game who didn't even want to show his true face. Isn't that something that can be given up at any time? Is the slave girl a human? Is the virtual gun buddy in the game a human? Especially for a high and mighty god? But he didn't even consider it. He chose them, not the red moon, nor killing the enemy. He can give up the things he once valued most, so what about me? Guangxin Jiu looked at the steel wall of the battleship and the three-dimensional star map flashing at the head of the bed, his eyes gradually confused. Next door at this time, Xia Guixuan leaned on the back of the chair with his upper body naked, holding the fossil red moon in his hand in a trance, and it was unknown whether he was studying or wandering. Ling Moxu stood quietly beside him, carefully picking some ointment to apply for him. He suffered some external injuries, mainly caused by the last moment. At the last moment, Xia Guixuan burst out with all his strength, cutting into the center of the energy explosion of the two red moons, cutting off all connections between the two red moons, and Yu Wangding snatched the little red moon away from the tiger's mouth. This was certainly a risky move. His robes failed to completely block the damage, some were damaged, and then injured the surface of the body. But that was all. It was just an external injury. It looked a bit bloody and miserable, but it was actually not a big deal. With his medicine, it would basically heal without leaving any marks in less than a few minutes. There was the deepest one on the shoulder, and it would take half a day to heal. That was it. In this choice of saving people, killing people and seizing treasures, you can choose 2 out of 3 if you are fully committed, but it is more dangerous and difficult to achieve perfection. For example, the big red moon ran away, and only the small red moon was obtained. I don't know if it is enough. It can be regarded as choosing 1.25. In fact, Xia Guixuan was very satisfied in his heart. Even if he didn't get the small red moon, he would not regret it. Just seeing the tender eyes of the little slave girl beside him seemed to be enough. Besides, the red moon was obtained. If he really wanted to study the inner world, this small one was enough, because he was not greedy for the treasure itself, but to study the principle and explore the secrets behind it through this thing. But at this moment, he was not studying. His divine consciousness had already traveled to the Kanglong star and attached to the necklace given to Yin Xiaoru. I wonder how the good soul that Long Yao deposited in Shang's Haoi Soul Sea will be affected, and whether it will be bad for Yin Xiaoru. After a look, I put down half of my worries. Long Yao probably didn't think Yin Xiaoru was important. In addition to being Xia Guixuan's woman, Yin Xiaoru was really useless to Kanglongxing and Shenyi at the moment. She was just a little fox. Now that I can't take her body remotely, why harm Yin Xiaoru? Is there any meaning? No. Evil thoughts are not chaos, and actions also have very clear goals. Don't do meaningless things. So Yin Xiaoru was in the small palace of the Fox clan, lying on her stomach eating fruit, eating until her belly was round, and moaning hard, Sister Shuang, Sister Shuang. No one paid attention to her. Shang's Haoi was not there, and several little maids around turned their heads away, unable to bear to watch. I thought a princess who claimed to be here to observe the situation of the tribe came, but in the end she ate and slept, and lived more comfortably than others who came to travel. Are you really here to see the confused life of the tribe? We were not so confused to begin with, and you made us more confused when you came. No wonder Elder Langaya said in private, the princess has lost her mind, everyone should go away. It is said that Elder Langaya is like a dead pig that is not afraid of boiling water and is waiting to die. Yin Xiaoru moaned for a long time, but no one paid any attention. Finally, a little sister couldn't stand it anymore and walked forward carefully. Princess, Priest Shuang went out for something and is not in the palace. Yin Xiaoru, who seemed chubby and had difficulty getting up, suddenly paused and confirmed, she went out? Wasn't she here just now? Where did she go? The little girl said, I don't know. She was here just now, and suddenly disappeared to the north. The chubby Yin Xiaoru climbed up and blinked. Where's Elder Langaya? Not long after, Langaya was invited into the palace, and said expressionlessly, what do you want, princess? Take me to see the lower levels of the descendants of gods. I want to see the lowest level. Didn't Priest Shuang propose this before? The princess said that she was tired from coming from afar and wanted to sleep. Is it not okay if I suddenly want to see it now? Okay, Langaya said helplessly, but Priest Shuang is not here, so it's not very convenient for the princess to go out. I don't know what Hunun will think, as long as Hunun is not an idiot. How dare he touch me? Isn't he afraid that my Cindy will kill him? Langaya. Yin Xiaoru's expression turned cold. Elder Langaya doesn't want to serve me as his master. Could it be that he has secretly surrendered to Hunun? Langaya's face turned green. Princess, what are you talking about? Let's go, let's go. No one knows why Shang's Haoi is diligently assisting, but Yin Xiaoru is just playing around. When Shang's Haoi is not around, Yin Xiaoru suddenly wants to go and inspect. Yin Xiaoru lowered her head and gently stroked the necklace, with some smiles in her eyes. Of course, it's because Cindy and I have the same idea. The residual soul of my mother will be nurtured in the soul sea of Sister Shuang. This is an unsolved mystery. Before figuring out this mystery, a little fox who eats and waits for death is safe. As for where Shang's Haoi is now, if I guessed correctly, he went to attack humans. I have said that I am a smart fox. Question to think about, what are the benefits of killing the queen? What are the benefits of the current result? I found that I have a fundamental disagreement with the many brothers. I design for the greatest benefit, while many people just need to feel good at the time. It's a bit like that. In order to be the best in a game, it's too literary. You are obviously invincible, but you get one less kill for a girl. It's really frustrating. Some people may say that real threats cannot be compared in this way. But in fact, the threat will be resolved in the next step, and the value will be increased by 1. Chapter 205, Feng Yixian Xiang Shang's Haoi did go to launch a sneak attack on humans. From a human perspective, the god's behavior is extremely disgusting. Even from the perspective of the god's righteousness, doing so is against the Dao heart, including Shang's Haoi himself. But from the perspective of the tribe leader, it is actually quite normal. Shang's Haoi feels that it is against the Dao heart, but if the Fox King thinks it is natural, then of the two souls in Shang's Haoi's body, who will be the master? Your Majesty, I don't think this is what you should think. You shouldn't be so broad-minded. On the way, even Shang's Haoi couldn't help but persuade the Fox King, Father God is not biased. He has already bestowed the treasures of Lingshan. As long as everyone is willing to work hard, they will surpass humans sooner or later. This sneak attack is too despicable. The Fox King responded indifferently. If Father God is really not biased, treats things impartially, and has a clear conscience, then he shouldn't say anything about such a sneak attack. In human history, those who talk about morality between countries are fools. Shang's Haoi shook his head and whispered, when facing foreign enemies, it should not be like this. If there is no such moral consensus and such a bottom line, and both sides stab each other, the Kanglong star should have been destroyed by Zeld long ago. We did not go on the expedition with humans this time because we are too weak internally. We must take the opportunity to recuperate, not to stab others. We didn't stab them very hard, the Fox King said leisurely. It's impossible to destroy Xia, and we can't hold it. Won't we have to retreat after the galaxy battleship returns? But it's normal to see some must-fight places and gain some advantages. They have grievances when they come back, but we can't use battleships to fight mosquitoes, so we can only accept it with a pinch of nose. That's disgusting, Your Majesty. This is the reason why you have been in power for more than 20 years, and the descendants of gods are getting weaker day by day. Zhaoi. You are more suitable to be an assistant who obeys orders, rather than a king who makes decisions. Shang's Haoi was silent for a moment, and sighed softly, maybe. But Your Majesty, in my heart this is still a chaotic fate. If there are gods observing, they may think that such a life should be extinct. Where does the sadness come from? The Fox King smiled. You will know later that this is right. Shang's Haoi said, I think Your Majesty is really a little different today. Don't you think that my residual soul was different from before? It looks more like Yin Xiaoru than Long Gao, so it's because of the residual soul? Father God also said before that you might be missing something. If you force it to separate, you will become crazy, no matter what is missing. Now this is an order, unless you have second thoughts. Shang's Haoi pursed his lips tightly, and sighed for a long time. Where to attack? It's still the Southwest Defense Zone. It is a continuous ancient site that humans have not excavated for more than 200 years. It buries too many immortal secrets of the descendants of gods from ancient times to the present. In a sense, it is more valuable than the new things given by Father God some time ago, because it is the remains of the hard work of the descendants of gods in their self-research. This is indeed a consensus, so the last large-scale attack was chosen here. The descendants of gods really want this place. Shang's Haoi said nothing more, and rode his horse across the sea with a group of descendants of gods. There was a commotion in the Southwest Defense Zone. God, descendants of gods. The descendants of gods are attacking. The Southwest Defense Zone actually still has elite troops. Adjutant Lin has been promoted to acting division commander. With him in charge of this place, it is quite good compared to other places. But the previously destroyed fortifications could not be repaired in such a short time. They hadn't even built a base when the divines attacked. At first, Adjutant Lin thought they could fight. He felt that the number of opponents was not that large. Most of them were still in the Tengiant stage, and there were few Huayang. The mechas and heavy tanks left over from the previous war were still there on the human side, so it was not impossible to fight. Adjutant Lin pointed at Shang's Haoi floating in the air with grief and anger. Do you descendants of God still have any dignity? The elite of mankind are all out and are fighting a bloody battle with Zelter. It would be fine if you didn't send a single soldier, but you actually attacked here. Don't you feel ashamed? Shang's Haoi felt guilty and did not answer this. He just said, you evacuate this place, I won't hurt anyone. Adjutant Lin was furious. There are soldiers who die on the battlefield, but there are no cowards who leave without firing a shot. Die on the battlefield was a forbidden word in front of Shang Xiaoyi before, which usually made her angry. Now she just shook her head slightly and gently opened her 5 fingers. If you don't leave, I will send you away. A soft cloud of gas floated up in the entire defense zone, wrapped everyone in it, and was about to be sent to other places. Adjutant Lin realized that the opposite side was Wuxiang. What's the point of fighting? He gnashed his teeth and said, what you have done will surely be the root cause of the deadly battle between the two tribes when the marshal returns. You will be the eternal sinners. Shang Xiaoyi shook his head slightly. I will bear it myself. Can you afford it? A faint roar suddenly came from the underground, spreading all the way to the sky. It seemed that she could feel the tremors underground, as if some powerful life was about to break out of the ground. Shang Xiaoyi's heart was slightly startled. She could feel that at least in the middle period of Qiannian, or even in the late period of Qiannian, it was full of the burning breath of fire, as if the magma and fire source buried deep underground had gathered into powerful spirit, guarding this land. There were traces of fire coming out from the ground, gradually spreading, and in an instant it spread like wildfire. The vast coast of war suddenly became a world of fire. With a phoenix cry, a huge firebird raised its head from the flames and went straight up to the sky, and its wings condensed by flames burned through the clouds. People felt a familiar yet strange breath. Yan. Shang Xiaoyi's expression was extremely ugly. Yan Wuyu, how come you are here? The human army was overjoyed. Is it really General Yan? This is where my tribe is, and it is also the source of fire. The firebird in the sky had a clear voice. I am a flame spirit born from the flame heart of the Kanglong star. I am not human, not a descendant of God. According to the custom of the descendants of God, I am the master of this place. If you say this is the planet of the Father God, I am here to shepherd this place under the order of the Father God. Who are you to start a war here? Shang Xiaoyi's expression moved. No matter what Yan Wuyu said, she found that the residual soul of the Fox King seemed to have changed a little. It seemed that some shadow twisted and was purified and disappeared within the range of the burning origin fire. The influence of the hazy evil thoughts across the star field was too far away, and it was actually very weak. Shang Xiaoyi herself did not want to go over and investigate, otherwise she would have discovered the problem long ago. Now under this pure origin fire, there is no malice left, and it disappears completely. The Fox King transmitted a message with some fear. Zhao Yi, how come we are here? Shang Xiaoyi suddenly wanted to laugh, and he was laughing at himself. Blind loyalty? I don't know if it counts. It seems like he is obsessed. He doesn't want the Fox King to think that he has been loyal all his life, but has 2 hearts at this moment, and was kidnapped. In the end, the Fox King's order was given by someone else. Like a clown. But it also seems to have achieved a kind of liberation? Looking at the stern phoenix eyes in the air, Shang Xiaoyi suddenly felt envious. The original Yan Wuyu had more shackles on his body than himself, but now Yan Wuyu can say loudly, I am not a human, nor a descendant of God. I am myself, a spirit born and raised by the earth. And this is my world. Shang Xiaoyi sighed softly. Father God placed you here, it is the way of heaven, and it has its own deep meaning. This is my fault, and when Father God returns, I will apologize to him. The aggressive descendants of God retreated in embarrassment, and the tribesmen didn't even know why they came across the sea this time. The fire phoenix in the sky watched them go away majestically. After a long time, the flames gradually subsided and turned into human form and landed on the ground. The human army welcomed them with great joy. General Yan, the Yan Wuyu in front of them, was still wearing the familiar red battle suit and had a hot body, but her wavy red hair had turned into a red ponytail. The mature lady who had fought for 100 years had lost the frost on her face and turned into a pink face full of youth. A 16 or 17-year-old beautiful girl with a ponytail? The girl was standing with her hands on her hips. I am the deputy commander now. Deputy commander. All humans were petrified, and it seemed that they could hear the sound of a dislocated jaw. In the void, it seemed that there were observing eyes that disappeared. In the battleship far outside the star field, Xia Guixuan withdrew his mind from his wandering, looked at Ling Moxu who was applying medicine for him, and reached out to hug her. It's done, kiss. Chapter 206 Ling Mozu tried to pat his hand, but failed to pat it open, so she just let him hug her with a blushing face, and said angrily, you are still injured, apply the medicine well, anything else? After a pause, he lowered his head and said, let's talk about it later. The tenderness in his eyes when he lowered his head was something he had never seen before in someone like her. and Xia Guixuan couldn't take his eyes off him. Ling Moxu also felt that she had never thought since she was a child that she would be such a little woman. Even when she was willing to kneel and serve him, her eyes were not like that. That was flattery, and she didn't know whether she was surrendering in her heart or for energy. After the Red Moon Mind Star, there was a little tenderness, because you are Ling Moxu. She was very touched and soft in her heart. She liked his words and the little gift for women he gave her. But there was also some confusion. Ling Moxu remembered the inexplicable feeling she had before. It was too fast to sleep with him. Why was it too fast? Now she knew. If it was about the body, if he had to sleep with her, it didn't matter whether it was fast or not, it was just like that. She had been prepared and willing for a long time, or simply said that she had no choice but to be willing. But if it comes to the heart, from submitting to him and pleasing him to serving him, to liking him and wanting to do that with him, that was too fast. So fast that I couldn't get over it. He was just in a high position, smiling and saying that you are different from Maya, because it is you, I protect you, and I am moved by this. Isn't it too cheap? Too humble? It was nothing more than a gift that could be given at will. He said that he changed the original plan for this, but he was originally following his heart, traveling when he was in the mood, and returning when he was tired. Who can tell why? He didn't lose anything, but he lacked a kind of proof after all. In fact, even if he coaxed her and said I care about you a lot, it would be a kind of proof. Isn't this requirement very low? What he really values is the Tao, and the one he likes in his heart is Yin Xiaoru. Where can Ling Moxu rank in his heart? As long as you like it, does she really think so, or is she trying to please him as usual, or is it a test? Test whether he likes it or not? He didn't respond. Ling Moxu was actually very sober, her sword heart had always been reflecting pure and clear, she could clearly distinguish everything, and analyze the most emotional and unclear things like the edge of a sword. She also knew that it was unnecessary, there was really no need to distinguish this thing so clearly, maybe being a little confused like that Yin Xiaoru would be more likable? But she couldn't control it. Maybe it was the stubbornness of the sword? Until now. The stubborn waiting had paid off. He stood in front of her with bruises all over his body, gave up the Red Moon, gave up chasing the enemy. It can be said that he gave up everything he had planned in this whole game. The queen who had been following her for a long time and waiting to be captured was gone, the 2 red moons turned into a small one, and the deep wound on his shoulder was still visible to the bone, just to protect her. This is proof that does not need to be stated. You, Ling Moxu lowered her head and applied the medicine, whispering, you were daydreaming just now. Is this little fossil not enough? Is the loss too big? No, I was daydreaming about other things. What are you looking at? The little fox is on a picnic. Xia Guixuan casually tossed the fossil in his hand and said with a smile, speaking of this thing, in fact, I almost understood it when I took it back and took a look, so there is no need to look at it more. In fact, Ling Moxu had no interest in the fossil at this time. She gently applied the deepest wound on Xia Guixuan's shoulder, just wanting it to heal quickly. Xia Guixuan was talking about it in a lively way. Inside this thing is a cell of a powerful life that has split, and it contains life resonance. So Long Yao has a certain way of influencing and controlling it, but it is not actually its master. It can be regarded as a kind of cooperation at most. This is very interesting, and it will lead to 2 directions. Ling Moxu said and said, which 2? I am not interested in the 20 directions. If the master is interested and likes to say a few words, then just listen. Xia Guixuan said excitedly, one possibility is that a powerful life form apparently died, and after reduced to ashes, because it was too powerful, its cells were still scattered all over the universe, not just this, and then each of them instinctively absorbed all energy and vitality, and instinctively wanted to revive. If this is the case, collecting these cells might be able to create an extremely terrifying demon god who is resurrected. Ling Moxu paused, and finally felt a little shocked. If a cell can burst out with such terrifying power and threaten the master, then, hey, I got it wrong. It's not that exaggerated. You should still remember the Red Moon absorbing the Red Moon Mind Star, right? Xia Guixuan smiled and said, this thing has been accumulating for a very long time, absorbing countless energies and vitality in the universe. The big Red Moon already has the energy of small and medium-sized stars. Don't underestimate this small one. It just has less useless things accumulated. In fact, its energy is also very strong. At least you know that it absorbed a plundering god at the peak of the formless peak, and a part of the dark demon. The two attract each other, forming a state similar to black hole swallowing and black hole explosion, which makes it appear particularly strong. Ling Moxu sighed. So it's not that the cell itself is so strong, it's just a trigger. That's okay, otherwise it's really beyond my understanding. But according to what the master said, there should be trillions of cells, right? Is this thing everywhere in the universe? Who can collect it completely? Not so many. The spilled ones may not be all cells. There may be larger bodies scattered. Xia Guixuan pondered and said, if there is a half-complete body, I guess other cells will actively gather there, and there is no need to collect them one by one. Ling Moxu was most concerned about this. If resurrected, how strong would it be? Xia Guixuan pondered and said, this creature must have been stronger than me when it was alive, maybe half a step to the Supreme, or even the Supreme. Well, the latter is unlikely. The Supreme should not have fallen to this point. The most likely possibility is that it has not reached half a step. It may have been killed by a true Supreme, or it may have gone wrong when breaking through and died. The road is full of dangers and no one can escape. Ling Moxu's hand stopped completely. Why, you can't accept that someone is stronger than me? Xia Guixuan laughed. The heavens and the worlds are so big. There are so many capable people, it's not surprising that they are stronger than me. It doesn't matter whether the unrelated people are strong or not, Ling Moxu whispered. If the master is involved, but the other party is stronger, that's what I'm afraid of. Are you afraid that something will happen to me? Ling Moxu didn't answer. The pursuit of the Tao always involves risks. There is no such thing as a smooth and easy progress. Xia Guixuan had seen many powerful people and experienced more dangers, but he was not entangled. As long as you have a brain, it is not easy to die, Ling Moxu whispered. I feel that the master is now. It seems that it is indeed as you said before. You have been tied up, which has hindered your performance, just like this time. Hey, Xia Guixuan put his hand on her lips and smiled. My Tao is still wavering, don't shake me. Ling Moxu stopped talking. Xia Guixuan said leisurely, just now I said that this is just a possibility. The real danger is not this possibility. The other possibility is more terrible, Ling Moxu asked. Which one? Another possibility is that if these cells are not scattered by a dead organism, but it is alive and actively spread. Ling Moxu's pupils shrank. Yes, this is the real horror. Xia Guixuan tossed the red moon fossil again and said with a smile, if it's the former, and Long Gao tried to use it, then it can still be done. Maybe it can take her a step further. It's a visible path. But if it's the latter, she might die a very ugly death, Ling Moxu said angrily. It's best if she dies. I admired her so much before. Admiration is admiration, and being an enemy is an enemy. There is no conflict. To be honest, I still admire her a little. She dares to draw her sword against a stronger person, and it is quite feasible. This is worthy of admiration, because most people can't do it. Ling Moxu glanced at him and continued to apply the medicine, but with a little more force. Just look at her. She is a woman. And very beautiful. Xia Guixuan joked, didn't you say that you tied her up for me to play with? Now she seems too strong. Don't you have the ambition? Ling Moxu pouted, am I not fun? I always think about other things. My mind is full of either the queen or the ball in my hand. The ball is hard. What's fun about it? Xia Guixuan was dumbfounded. Holding the ball in his hand, he was actually a little overwhelmed. Is this what Ling Moxu would say? Ling Moxu slowly rubbed the wound on his shoulder, saying sadly, why, there's not even a scar on other places. Why is this place still not healed? Xia Guixuan stared at her in a daze, and went over the conversation just now in his mind. Suddenly he realized that he was very interested in deciphering the mystery, while her focus was all on whether the other party could pose a threat to him. After confirming that it was still far away, the focus was only on his injury. The fossil in his hand disappeared and was put into the ring. Xia Guixuan stretched out his hand and hugged Ling Moxu into his arms, saying softly, no need to apply medicine. In fact, one application is enough. The wound is a bit deep, and the human body needs time to heal. Half a day is enough, it's not a big deal. Ling Moxu sniffed, I just feel uncomfortable watching it. I'm not hurt, even Gongsun Jiayu, that bastard, only had a little injury from falling. Why do you have to get hurt? Xia Guixuan laughed, kissed the corner of her lips gently, and whispered, so, I said, give me a kiss and you will feel comfortable. Ling Moxu tilted her head slightly, and soon turned from the corner of her lips to face him, and then hugged him passionately, pressed him on the recliner and kissed him passionately. Xia Guixuan didn't care about being at the bottom, feeling the enthusiasm of the little slave girl for the first time, and his heart was also soft. The two closed their eyes and kissed for a long time. Ling Moxu raised her head slightly with messy hair, looked at his eyes with a dazed look, panted and murmured, "Master, can you have me?" Chapter 207. Xia Guixuan found that he couldn't stand this the most. The sister's resentment, the little fox's weakness. The current affection with Ling Moxu, a little nervous to ask for sex. Because she was just a little slave girl, even when she was extremely emotional, she had to the master's permission, and the words had become a habit. That kind of weakness and humility touched people's hearts. Especially, she was not of this kind of temperament. She flattered and fawned on the surface, as if she had been accustomed to being a slave, but in fact she had her own set of standards hidden in her heart, otherwise how could it be too fast? In essence, she was always proud, but this moment was gone. When she really said too fast, she would laugh dumbly, "Who the hell wants you? You are actually the winner with you." When it comes to can or can't, there is no can or can't at all. Only a small stone was thrown into the heart, a little ripple, slowly spreading, waves swaying in circles, over the glacier, melting the snow, turning into soft honey, flowing gently. What is high and mighty? What is observing the seedlings? What is thinking on the road? What is who wins and who loses? What is conquering slaves? Who cares? Outside the door, Guangxin Jiayu stood there, his hand in a gesture of wanting to knock on the door, suspended in the air without knocking. Just when he was about to knock on the door, he heard a voice inside, so his action stopped there. Is it because his mental strength is too strong now? The sound insulation of the rest cabin of this warship is very good. Even such a low voice can be heard clearly. There is no tenderness in sight at this moment. The response is more gentle, as long as the master likes it. Gongsun Jiayu looked up at the sky. Stinky woman. Shameless. But she couldn't curse it, and her eyes became more complicated. As long as you like it, even when she thought she was the most indulgent, she couldn't say such words. Because in addition to what he likes, there are more things worth doing, not just who likes it. It was just an indulgence, a madness of mutual need, and it was also a kind of compensation for him that she thought. Everything she did was meaningful. Like this. She had no right to scold her, let alone blame him. But, it was so painful to listen to. No matter how unqualified she was, she knew that she liked him in her heart after all. She felt so uncomfortable that she wanted to leave immediately, but she forced herself to listen masochistically, as if she was blaming herself. My mother was getting crazier and crazier, and my father had already shouted, so you guys should be almost there too. I don't know how long I listened. It seemed that the two people were talking tenderly, but Gongsun Jiayu just felt her ears buzzing and couldn't hear anything clearly. Maybe the sun looked green. After standing there for a few more minutes, it seemed that no one was talking inside, and Gongsun Jiayu finally knocked on the door. Xia Guixuan's lazy voice sounded, "Wait a minute." Ling Moxu got up and put on her clothes, complaining, "Is it Gongsun Jiayu? So annoying." Xia Guixuan stroked her waist and smiled. "This marshal is still polite. I've been listening for a long time." Ling Moxu, she straightened her clothes and pressed the remote control, and the door unlocked automatically. Xia Guixuan asked curiously, "Take off the thing on your neck first, it won't look good to the public." Ling Moxu touched it and said casually, "It doesn't matter. The Princess of Daxia volunteered to be a human being, so there's no need for him to think that the Marshal of Daxia has any dignity." Xia Guixuan, it feels like Ling Moxu really has a big opinion of Gongsun Jiayu. Gongsun Jiayu has already entered the door. Looking at the two of them leaning against the head of the bed and hugging each other lazily, Ling Moxu leaned on Xia Guixuan's shoulder, and the touch on her neck was so dazzling. Her pupils shrank, and she had no expression. She heard what Ling Moxu said just now, but everyone's channels were different. Ling Moxu thought this would make her feel humiliated, and she would wake up and know that the Marshal of Daxia was nothing great. But in fact, what she was thinking in her heart was, MMP, it sounds tender and sweet. I didn't expect you guys to play so crazy. You won't put this on my neck in the future, right? If you really want to put it on my neck, should I resist? Doesn't Ling Moxu think this way of playing is too humiliating at all? How can you be so calm, and show it to me? She could only speak slowly. You two, it's been more than an hour, why don't you get up and have a drink and chat? Xia Guixuan also lazily got up to change clothes and threw a crystal to her. Mozu bought some things that are beneficial to humans. Although it seems that you have opened up the external journey now, in fact, there are not many third-party civilizations that dare to trade with you. The things Mozu bought are very valuable. Gongsun Jiu took the crystal and looked at Ling Mozu with a little change in his eyes. Does this woman really consider these things? Ling Mozu snorted, and Gongsun Jiu still saluted. Thank you, Miss Ling, Ling Mozu said lightly. Don't think that you are the only one who can do it for the country. You care how many hours I play, the war is over and I can play however I want. What does it have to do with you? Gongsun Jiu didn't argue with her. Everyone's conversation was originally a cross-channel chat. Xia Guixuan got off the bed and stretched his chest a little. The injury on his shoulder had healed. Dual cultivation can heal injuries, and it will bring more benefits to Mozu. What do you mean by 1 hour? If you take this seriously, it can be calculated in years. It's just that Mozu was interrupted by Gongsun Jiu at this moment, and she probably didn't notice how much she had improved. She was already in the middle stage of Jin Yuan, and if she practiced steadily for a period of time, she could probably reach the 6th level of Jin Yuan. He didn't say much, just said, the voyage is long, and you have to find something to do. We are not as self-disciplined as the marshal. I heard that those pirates even changed their sexual orientation after a long time. I wonder what the marshal thinks. Gongsun Jiu didn't know if he meant to test her a little, so he said with a straight face, more pirates have become rapists and plunderers, and the big-headed pirate group is a little special. How do you know I'm talking about the big-headed pirate group? Because we received a communication from Xia Guixuan, asking if you are still going to her place, and Moy is still at her house. Oh, I have to go there once, because I want to ask her if she has anything to neutralize Mozu's blood. I forgot about it before. Ling Mozu's eyes moved. And she couldn't help but be charming. Although it sounds sweet, why does it feel like it's because calling daddy just now made you happy? Gongsun Jiu didn't know the reason why the two called daddy. She just thought they were having fun, and didn't think much about it. She just said, the front is back to the Donglan war zone. Would you like to go back to Donglan to rest for a few days, or should we send a transport ship to take you to the Little Mushroom Star directly? Xia Guixuan looked at her for a long time, and suddenly smiled. Let's go to Donglan first. This staff officer still has something to say to the marshal first. Gongsun Jiu was frightened by his strange look and subconsciously took a step back. What can't be said here? Xia Guixuan smiled brightly. Talking to the marshal is one thing, and I also want to talk to your sister. Because I think that no matter whether your sister goes with the army or not, we will be able to see her when we get off the ship to rest in Donglan. I haven't seen her for many days, and I miss her a little. Chapter 208, Confidence. Gongsun Jiu really didn't know how much he had seen. Did he already know it completely, or was he still suspicious and testing? She could only pretend not to know. My sister said that she doesn't want to see you, and she won't come out even if you want to see her. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, it's just Donglan. I can tell with my divine sense. If you really want to find her, she can't hide. Gongsun Jiu was panicking, and forced to be calm. Why do you have to do this? I hope you can respect her own wishes. Xia Guixuan asked curiously, when you wanted to compensate her to me in exchange for Wu Yu, why didn't you say you would respect her own wishes? Gongsun Jiu didn't say anything. That was my own wish. Okay, respect. I just respect you too much. Xia Guixuan looked her up and down with a smile. By the way, how do you know what she thinks? If she is willing to see me at that time, Gongsun Jiu said with a straight face, let's talk about it when we get to Donglan. Captain Xia, do you have anything to say to me? Xia Guixuan stopped talking about this, turned to Ling Moxu and smiled. Moxu, you practice for a while first, it will be good for you. The marshal and I will go out for a walk. Ling Moxu also found that her practice was increasing a little too fast at this time. She didn't feel these at all before, and she was still thinking at this time, no wonder the master seemed to be more reserved than me about playing with female slaves in bed, as if he never had that idea. It turned out that he felt it was hard to say who was taking advantage of this matter, right? Thinking of this, he was a little amused. Then I will practice for a while, and the master will call me if there is anything. He had already called the master in front of Gongsun Jiu, which completely ignored the opinions of others. Looking at the singing queen and noble princess who was admired by thousands of people in Daxia, Gongsun Jiu didn't know whether she should despise her or be touched. She turned around and walked out the door without saying a word. There is another thing about interstellar navigation that is more uncomfortable than sea navigation. At sea, You can go to the deck to get some fresh air and feel the seawater and sea breeze outside, but it's not the case for interstellar navigation. You can only stay in the cabin forever, it's impossible to open the window, and there's no deck for you to get some fresh air and sun. Although the battleship is very large and people can't walk around it in a whole day, it's still a big prison with walls everywhere, so stuffy that people just want to break through the walls and feel the outside. Someone at home said, "What's the problem with you being stuck in the battleship for half a year?" I play games at home for half a year without going out, standing by the floor-to-ceiling window at the end of the aisle. Gongsun Jiu looked at the night outside through the window and whispered, "They don't know. The difference is whether you can go out when you want to." Xia Guixuan stood beside her and turned to look at her. Humanity's desire to fly comes from this. Gongsun Jiu smiled. It's just that although it seems that we can navigate the universe now, the essence has not changed. Maybe Ling Moxo and the others are thinking in the right direction. The end point of mankind is still the path of self-evolution. Xia Guixuan finally said, "You seem to have been hit hard this time. You are depressed and self-doubting." "Yes," Gongsun Jiu said, "I am just a normal person, and I will be hit when facing failure. The difference between a hero and an ordinary person is whether he will strive or sink after a moment of loss." Xia Guixuan said, "I still think you should be a hero. I thought you hate me very much." This is not a conflict. Just like I hate Long Yao very much now, but I have to admit that she is also a hero. Gongsun Jiu said, "You hate it not only because of the rival in love, but also because this person doesn't want to listen to you. You are also contradictory. You admire such human beings and ambitions, but in fact, your heart is not as open-minded as you think. You cannot rule Kang Longstar, but it does not mean you like others to challenge you. Of course, I'm not a cheapskate. I admire their desire to break free from the laws of nature, but that doesn't mean I'll just smile if they want to step on me. I'm an immortal, not a Buddha. Buddhas also get angry, and I want to study the power of taking. I say it's because I don't want to rely on you. In essence, it's a challenge to you. It's not that exaggerated. It's better than them tearing apart the sky and the earth." "I lost," Gongsun Jiu said slowly, his voice a little difficult. "Daxia needs the protection of the Father God. Please don't punish mankind because of my previous rudeness." Xia Guixuan looked at him without saying anything. "Actually, being willing to make such an invisible bet with me is already an act of deceiving the Father God. You could have ignored it," Gongsun Jiu whispered. "Now not only have I lost, but I also owe you a life-saving favor again. I have no complaints about how the Father God punishes me." Xia Guixuan looked a little strange, and suddenly said, "Hey, if I want you to serve me and make you the same as Mozu, would you be willing?" Gongsun Jiu's face turned pale. "I'm a man. I want a man." Gongsun Jiu almost turned around and wanted to run. Xia Guixuan laughed behind him. "It's just a joke. Just seeing how weak you look, I can't help but see how weak you can be. Are you afraid that I will punish humans and sacrifice yourself or something?" Gongsun Jiu held his forehead. "This joke is not funny. Actually, you just lost because you forced yourself to separate from me." Xia Guixuan stopped laughing at him and looked out the window again. "You want to not rely on me too much, and you don't want humans to rely on only one God. There is nothing wrong with your original intention, but the mistake is that you are too completely separated. Not wanting to rely on others does not mean losing the opportunity to communicate and inquire. If you ask me carefully, what are the flaws of the dark demon and how can human technology deal with it, would that be considered dependence?" Gongsun Jiu thought for a while in a daze and did not answer. "If it were an alien, you might have consulted carefully, but if it were me, I would not be willing to do so." "You are obsessed, young Marshal." "Yes," Gongsun Jiu bowed deeply. "In fact, it is because I have not experienced failure and I am overconfident. I will reflect on it. Losing is a good thing. As the saying goes, heroes will rise up and common people will sink. Don't let me down." Gongsun Jiu was a little surprised. "You are really so magnanimous and still have expectations? Don't you have any punishment in your heart? You are already punishing yourself. Why should I bother you?" "In a sense, a failure is the best punishment for you," Xia Guixuan said. "As for magnanimity and expectations, that is originally a gift from a high position to a low position. It is not only punishment that can show the superiority." Gongsun Jiu thought about it, and suddenly smiled. "I learned from your advice." Xia Guixuan touched his chin. "I feel that a failure cannot make you so weak towards me. Your weakness this time is more likely to come from the fact that I saved you and let Long Yao go in the end." "Yeah, Gongsun Jiu seemed to be a lot more relaxed, and also teased, the princess sacrificed her life for this, didn't she? I also feel that I owe you, so of course I'm weak. Actually it's not that serious. Xia Guixuan shook his head and said, in fact, I should say that I don't care about Long Gao. What's the big deal if she ran away? In the question of choosing 2 out of 3, my first choice is you, and the second choice is Long Gao, but I have never taken her into consideration. To be more pretentious, I even want her to level up again to see what surprises she can get. Well, is it a waste of emotion? But she wants to kill you, and she is really powerful. You are so cautious even with the dark demon, but you don't care about her. I don't care about the dark demon either. Strategic contempt and tactical attention are 2 different things. You may have confused them. I have never taken them seriously, but in a specific battle, no matter who the opponent is, you should not underestimate the enemy, otherwise you may capsize in the ditch. It's still a ditch. If you didn't sweep it away this time, you can just sweep it away next time. Why bother about it? That's so unconfident. Gongsun Jiu knew that Xia Guixuan had deliberately blurred some issues here. His feelings were not in vain. Just the 4 words "I choose you" first were enough. That really meant the truth of his previous path, that being tied would affect the speed of drawing the sword. Now he said that he didn't care whether Long Gao ran away or not, it didn't matter, but what if he encountered a really important situation one day in the future, or even a situation that could threaten his life? I wonder if his current change will lead to regrets in the future. This is actually a wake-up call, isn't it? She still couldn't help but remind him, what if the other party is so strong that it threatens you? That's still because you're not confident enough. Xia Guixuan smiled. Actually, I'm thinking that the path I chose before was itself a product of a lack of self-confidence. Gongsun Jiu was stunned. What do you mean? Because you're not confident enough. You're afraid of being entangled and afraid that it will affect your performance. To put it bluntly, you don't even have the confidence to bring a woman to the arena to gain points. How can you say how awesome you are at playing games? How awesome can you be? Gongsun Jiu's expression became very interesting, and he said after a long time, good analogy. Of course, it's generally possible to be a king. If you want to be the first in the whole server, the woman can't be too weak. How do you know that today's entanglement is not the biggest help along the way? Xia Guixuan patted Gongsun Jiu's thin shoulder. Marshal, come on. Thanks to the brother it's too tiring to follow the book. Slowly raise it for joining the alliance. The leader has broken through level 71 but there will be no extra chapters tonight, and there will be extra chapters tomorrow. Chapter 209 Return to Donglan said at the beginning that women should not be too much of a drag, and then followed by a sentence come on, Marshal. Gongsun Jiu didn't even know whether he was being sarcastic, testing him, or just making an unintentional metaphor. She couldn't continue talking at all, and left a sentence, since Captain Xia doesn't blame me, then let's do this for now, I'm going to rest. Then she fled. Xia Guixuan leaned against the window, looking at her somewhat flustered back, her face still straightened and her stride was fast, but in Xia Guixuan's eyes, the illusion had already passed through. Gongsun Jiu's image slowly changed, a little shorter, her figure began to be exquisite and slender, her waist was slender, and her buttocks wrapped in military uniforms were slightly rounded and curved. So I respect you too much, Xia Guixuan said to himself with a smile. I don't want to pry into your privacy, let you cover it up, and after all this time, you treat me like a fool. The dissatisfaction with Gongsun Jiu's so-called rival in love naturally disappeared, replaced by displeasure at being coaxed. But this displeasure is also quite strange. She slept with you and didn't ask you to be responsible. What's the displeasure? No. Did you really sleep with her? Does it count? You said you would let me punish you, young marshal. Xia Guixuan laughed and left, returning to his own rest cabin. Ling Moxu was sitting cross-legged in meditation, but there seemed to be some mysterious attraction. When Xia Guixuan stepped into the room, she also opened her eyes. The two looked at each other for a while and smiled slightly. This feeling is good. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, is it really the 5th level of Kainun? It should be the 6th level in Donglan. Every time I think I am serving you, it seems that I always make a profit in the end. Ling Moxu felt a little embarrassed. This cognition makes me feel very awkward. Is it necessary to distinguish so clearly? We cultivators talk about the heart, rampant idealism. Haha. Xia Guixuan sat beside her, hugged her waist and played with her, and smiled. I talk about my heart, you talk about your deeds, so how do you want to act? Ling Moxu thought he wanted it, and looked around like a thief. Xia Guixuan, modern people really know how to have fun. The country bumpkin Xia dynasty people really didn't feel like playing like this for a while. Xia Guixuan casually touched her hair, looked at a certain direction with a distant look, and his expression gradually became strange. In Gongsun Jiu's rest cabin, the marshal sat there for a while with an empty mind. After all, he was a person who worked habitually. He quickly got out of the short-circuit state, thought about it, and took out the memory crystal that Xia Guixuan had just given her. This is said to be all kinds of scientific and technological knowledge bought by Ling Moxu. Study it and see how that woman's vision is in things other than choosing a master. Activate the crystal, and a three-dimensional image emerges. Gongsun Jiu was stunned. Is this the alien domain scientific knowledge you bought? People can't. The poor marshal has lost his ability to think. Thinking of Xia Guixuan's joking just now, I just want a man. Gongsun Jiu shuddered and decisively decided that he would never see him in the second half of the voyage. Absolutely not. He wants to see Xiaojiu. Well, Xiaojiu, he will see him when he arrives in Donglan. No matter what he wants to do, at least he should be normal. In Xiang Yuxun's water prison, Maya is confessing, the crystals I gave them are really all kinds of scientific and technological knowledge. But I added some theme songs in front. I have confessed everything. This is all my disloyalty and concealment to your master. There is nothing else. I have no ill intentions. I have sweated for the master. You can't do this to me. The main star of the Donglan war zone, Donglan Star. This was originally just a mining star. The entire planet is almost composed of various metal minerals. Deserts, rocks, lava, and even metal materials directly exposed to the outside constitute the main body of the planet. The climate is very bad, volcanoes are dense, water sources are scarce, and mineral radiation is also very strong. It is not suitable for living as a whole. However, such a mining star has extremely high mining value and is rich in many types of scarce minerals. The main materials of warships and mechas are inseparable from the output of this planet. It was originally a military base where the Daksha humans focused on garrisoning, and gradually formed the entire war zone system around it. As an important main star, although Donglan Star is not very suitable for living, it has the sun and the moon, and atmosphere, water, and the air composition is not much different from what humans need. People will naturally overcome difficulties and build a steel city here as a gathering place for garrisons, military dependents, divine monks, and interstellar wanderers persecuted by Zeltern interstellar adventurers. The composition is very complicated, but under the strict guard of the powerful garrison, there has been no trouble. Yan Wei has served as the governor of many mining stars, including Donglan, but his term of office is not too long. But naturally, the people are tough, fighting is commonplace, and everyone in this iron-blooded place is of course the final say with fists. The Great Xia Kingdom on Kanglong Star is known for its strong martial arts and its frequent use of force to solve problems. In fact, compared with this kind of place, it is simply a place of smoke and willows in the south of the Yangtze River. The city in the game where Xia Guixuan and Xiaoji were built was built with reference to this kind of place. When Xia Guixuan arrived in Donglan and just got off the battleship and walked out for a few steps, he felt a very familiar sense of déjà vu. It is simply an enlargement of the scene in the game. Leaving the battleship base, the vast Gobi Desert is in front of us. The desert sand has a reddish metallic color, and the jagged rocks stretch to the horizon. The sky is a bloody sunset, the setting sun shines obliquely, and there is no trace of scorpions and insects, which makes it more desolate and distant. In the far distance, there is the color of steel, and the setting sun reflects a faint light. That is the main city of mankind. Xia Guixuan took out a Flying Eagle III motorcycle that he had applied for from the military from his ring, which was the one he and Xiaoji rode in the game. He snapped his fingers and conjured up two goggles. He put one on himself and put one on Ling Moxu. The two smiled at each other and thought it was quite fun. The style of cultivating immortals who killed gods and demons became cyberpunk, which was inconsistent but seamless. After all, it was the interstellar era. Hold on. Xia Guixuan started the motorcycle, and the roar sounded, and the yellow sands flew. Ling Moxu hugged his waist in the back seat and laughed happily. I didn't expect to have such a romantic experience with him riding a motorcycle under the sunset. What a comfortable wind. She was comfortable, but some people were uncomfortable. In the camp behind her, several generals walked out while talking. Marshal, this Captain Xia is very undisciplined. He just left like this, Gongsun Jiu looked at the motorcycle going away, his face turned black as charcoal. It was me first. My story, my memory, my game. My specially approved military motorcycle. Woo. He couldn't show it on his face, so he could only say with a straight face, Princess Ling is here, there are always some privileges, don't take it too seriously. Everyone looked at each other. If the blame was put on Ling Moxu, it would be hard for everyone to say anything. After all, the relationship with Ling Xiaoru was a bit delicate. He had hastily set out before, and now he didn't know if there would be some political dramas that would make everyone headache. Anyway, there was no need to offend Ling Moxu. Seeing Gongsun Jiu getting on a motorcycle in a hurry, Veteran General Yu Gihan couldn't help but said, Marshal, you should take the car. It's not safe to ride a motorcycle alone. No, I want to be alone and quiet. Gongsun Jiu stretched out his hand. Give me a motorcycle helmet. A group of people handed over helmets. This one has all the functions. Gongsun Jiu looked around and chose one of them, saying faintly, the function doesn't matter, as long as it's green. Thanks to Brother Nongsh for joining the alliance. The leader is happy to reach 72. By the way, I recommend this Fairy Xia multi-female protagonist novel, the first undercover in the fairyland, which has been updated for 20 days and is updated violently. I, Lin Yun, have excellent bones and the potential of a fairy emperor. I thought I would become a precious disciple of the sect, but I never expected that they would let me go deep into the tiger's den to go undercover. So the question is, what if I take down the demon lord at the beginning? Elder, I didn't mean to go deep into the tiger's den. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210. Helve once entered this city with Zioju. Although Zioju described it as very chaotic and violent, fighting was actually prohibited in the main city of the game. We could only feel that the atmosphere was chaotic, but no fighting broke out. This time it was particularly outrageous. Just as he took Ling Moxa to the outskirts of the city on a motorcycle, a group of young people dressed in strange clothes and crooked special combat uniforms also rode motorcycles around, whistling and laughing. Hey, beauty. Do you want to come to my brother's place for a test drive? Someone laughed. Don't you see that it's a military motorcycle? Are you tired of living? In fact, if it weren't for this reason, it would have been surrounded long ago, and now they only dare to circle around. It's just so chaotic. Tisk, who can't modify it? The man said stubbornly, but he was also a little afraid, whistling. Beauty, what's the point of that serious military vehicle? See if my brother's is good looking. Whether the kind of fancy modified motorcycle looks good or not is another matter. It has already angered Xia Guixuan. Just when he was about to teach this group of people a lesson, Ling Moxu's sword energy had already rushed out. Get out, the sword light was cold. The big bird modified with colorful decorations was torn into pieces. The man rolled to the ground in a mess, shouting in fear, Godborn sword cultivator. With a whoosh, all the motorcycles ran away. Someone was muttering, Godborn people also ride motorcycles. Why don't you just fly your swords well? Who dares to mess with you? Xia Guixuan was stunned, but it was a little funny. It seems that in this kind of individual fight, the Godborn cultivators here are called the outside world of fame. In terms of individual strength or small-scale fights, ordinary human gene warriors are indeed no match for the Godborn, unless they have military mechas. Especially the Godborn who dare to come to such a war place are probably all self-challenging practitioners. The survival and reproduction patterns of humans are different. On the contrary, there are many military dependents or businessmen who have lived here for generations. As the blood relationship becomes more distant from each other, many second-rate people have appeared. Or to put it more nicely, rangers. In real wartime, these people are often temporarily recruited, and occasionally one or two heroes will appear. Some stories will start with them, although there are very few such protagonists. Xia Guixuan was too lazy to bother with them, and he sped up again to enter the city. The roar of another motorcycle came from behind, and a figure wearing a green helmet soon appeared in the rearview mirror. Xia Guixuan glanced at it and looked a little strange. Did she catch up with him in women's clothing? Oh, yes, she can pretend to be a technical soldier who went to war with the army, so it is not surprising that she caught up with him at this time. Another beauty, The rangers forgot the pain before their scars healed, and they walked around laughing and surrounded Xiaojiu. Beauty. Do you want to go for a ride? Ling Moxa couldn't help but complain. They know she is a beauty even if the helmet is worn so tightly. Her figure is not that good. Before Xia Guixuan could answer, he saw Xiaojiu took out a machine gun. A group of second-rate people were stunned. The machine gun swept wildly, and people fell to the ground and the car overturned. Xiaojiu lifted his mask and blew away the smoke from the muzzle. Get lost. Xia Guixuan couldn't help laughing out loud. Everyone's way of entering the city, well, it's all very violent. He slowed down the car and waited for Xiaojiu to catch up, and then both of them rode side by side without saying a word and entered the main road in the city. Ling Moxa glared at Xiaojiu in the back seat, and Xiaojiu had a blank expression. Who am I wearing the green helmet for, and you're still glaring at me? Ling Moxa was also unhappy. She thought it was a world for the two overmaster, but where did the girl with glasses in this game come from? Did she just get off the battleship too? Aren't they ordinary soldiers supposed to be disbanded in batches with a team? How can it be so casual? Can the marshal's sister go through the back door? The two girls stared at each other in a weird atmosphere without saying a word. The pedestrians on the street were also a little scared because of the violence of this group of people just outside the city. No one dared to cause trouble casually, and the atmosphere became quiet. Xia Guixuan looked around with interest. It really looked like the main city in the previous game. Many shops and other things were copied authentically, including the pedestrians dressed like the game equipment, and the neon hotel not far away. After the preview in the game, this place became a more familiar place. This is the biggest significance of the game: familiar with war, familiar with guns, battle clothes, formations, teamwork, and the operation of the battleships that can be unlocked. Then there is the simulation of the environment. People who are familiar with the game can almost be directly brought into guard Donglan. What an amazing virtual game, Xia Guixuan couldn't help but exclaim. The person who first conceived of that game was very insightful. Originally, this technology itself was used for military training, Xiaojiu said lightly. After it was converted to civilian use, a lot of people actually went into porn first. This game was led by the military and created by the ancestors of the Yin family. If it weren't for the support of this industry, the Yin family would have been finished long ago. Humanity did have a group of heroes in the early days. Xia Guixuan smiled. It's a pity that there are only women left now. Xiaojiu, Ling Moxu, this sentence is so weird. Xia Guixuan pointed to the neon lights of the hotel in the distance and smiled. Are we staying there too? Ling Moxu rushed to say, we have an official hotel. You can stay in the city lord's mansion. Why go to this roadside inn? It's full of that kind. What kind? That kind. It's very dirty anyway. Master, don't go there. There will be only messy women in there. Xiaojiu, in fact, this yellow hotel in reality is one of the secret intelligence agencies of the military. This kind of place with all kinds of people has a lot of special intelligence, which is a good supplement to the official intelligence channels. When she came to Donglan, she either didn't enter the city or lived in the garrison. She was afraid of socializing when entering the city, but she often lived in this intelligence agency quietly. So she habitually stayed in this hotel in the game and opened a dedicated room 404. Otherwise, there are many other high-end hotels in the game. Why choose this one? As a result, she was AOE'd into a mess of women. Xiaojiu was so angry that her stomach hurt, and she couldn't show anything on her face. In fact, Xia Guixuan wanted to live here. First, it was a habit, and second, what's good about staying in an official hotel? Do you have to socialize with some city lord or governor? Everyone came to Donglan to stroll around and relieve the previous war in interstellar navigation, not to socialize with others. Speaking of it, the original main purpose of the city was really for this, to provide a place for soldiers to entertain and relax. Whenever they return from an interstellar war, the city is the most lively. Of course, the main activities were taverns and arenas. Other things that were not suitable for children were brought by businessmen who gradually discovered business opportunities. There was always a need, and the authorities also turned a blind eye. Just when Xia Guixuan wanted to go into the hotel to take a look, there was a commotion in front of him, and a guard came straight over, who was firing a machine gun with a flying sword outside the city just now. Ling Moxu and Xiaojiu dropped their goggles and threw their helmets to the ground in perfect sync, cursing in unison. You don't care about the hooligans harassing the soldiers outside. But you care about us. Don't you see the military vehicles? Hiss. You two can actually say such a long sentence in sync, and you say you hate each other? It's true that these two are noble ladies, and their reactions to such things should be very consistent. As a result, after the two noble ladies showed their faces, they were treated very differently. No one here knew the female version of Xiaojiu, but everyone looked at Ling Moxu in a daze. Ling. Princess, someone actually knelt on one knee. Princess, please forgive us, we didn't know. Tisk. Xiaojiu tilted his head and said nothing. No wonder some people always think that it is almost time to be crowned emperor. Look how skilled these people are in kneeling. Ling Moxu said coldly, who gave you the power? Let City Lord Yi come out to see me. Not long after, a fat man and a big man came over anxiously, shouting from a distance, Princess, please forgive us. We have failed to discipline him. This city lord can stop being a city lord. This governor can be dismissed. The two women thought of this at the same time, and then they heard the fat city lord nodding and bowing. We didn't know that the princess was coming. We have prepared a feast. We hope that the princess will come. There are also city affairs to report to the princess. Ling Moxu didn't even have a position at all, so what was there to report? But that's how official things are. When you come, you can't avoid socializing, and it would be ugly to just tear your face off. Ling Moxu whispered to Xia Guixuan, do you want to go together? Xia Guixuan smiled and said, go and listen to the report, and tell me later. I'll stay here, it's fun. Ling Moxu looked at the small yellow hotel next to her, and then looked at Xiaojiu who suddenly laughed out loud, and she wanted to cry but had no tears. Everyone took off their helmets. Why should I be the only one who has to go to the social event? Looking at the broken green helmet on the ground, Ling Moxu suddenly wondered, is this the color that this woman prepared for me? There will be more updates in the evening. Chapter 211 Games in Reality. Ling Moxu was full of sword energy and went to the banquet with a frosty face. The Donglan officials were trembling with fear, but they were not surprised. The princess they heard about had this temperament. Although Xia Guixuan rarely saw Ling Moxu like this, she was too normal to others. God knows that the princess was in a good mood, so she would not be so cold. This time she was completely back to her original form. Xia Guixuan looked at Xiaojiu with a smile. Do you want to go out for a walk, take a walk to see the wilderness, or go in and chat? Xiaojiu looked outside with some excitement. It was sunset at dusk, and this desolate scenery was actually very beautiful. It must be very happy to walk outside with him. But after thinking about it, he shook his head. It will be dark soon. It's not safe outside. There are all kinds of messes, Xia Guixuan said. Am I still afraid of insecurity? Xiaojiu smiled slightly. But the atmosphere I want will be gone, so it's better to give up. That's true. Xia Guixuan himself was too lazy to conflict with low-level monsters, or did he have to release his momentum to form a deterrent vacuum when going out for a walk? How can it be so boring? The two of them had the same idea, so they stopped arguing and turned to go into the hotel. In fact, they knew in their hearts that going out for a walk was nothing, but entering the hotel might be something, but it didn't matter. Xiaojiu, who originally didn't want to have anything to do with him in reality, didn't even know what she was thinking at this time. It was strange to catch up with him, let alone go into the hotel. I don't know if it was because she felt indebted, or because she was unhappy with him in Ling Moxu's world of two, or because she was scared by the image in the crystal and thought it would be better to meet in a female body. Anyway, it was a mess. Luan Mo was almost scared to death the moment he entered the hotel. The first floor of the hotel was a tavern. It was full in the evening. The wealthy guests inside hugged women and talked and laughed freely, drank and made noises, and were unrestrained. Some of them even stretched their hands to who knows where. The women were not shy, and they were more excited than the men. A girl with a short skirt and big wave stepped on the table with one foot and played finger-guessing games with others. Under the short skirt, there was nothing. The two of them came in, especially Xiaojiu in military uniform, which made the atmosphere quiet for a moment. Seeing Xiaojiu's shoulders without any stripes, she quickly continued to make noise without paying attention. Someone even whistled at her. Little female soldier, were you coaxed here by a man? Haha. Brother, take it easy, soldiers are not easy to deal with, can you do it? Xia Guixuan ignored it. Turning to look at Xiaojiu, Xiaojiu was staring blankly at the other side of the bar. From the moment she entered the door, Xiaojiu was in a state of stupidity from beginning to end. In the past, When she came here, she was always quietly taken to the top floor by her subordinates through the back door in men's clothing. She had never seen this scene, which was really shocking. The bar owner, whose local dress was about to pop out, greeted them with a smile. "What would you like to order?" "We have the latest blend of flaming red lips." Xia Guixuan turned her head away, not looking at the parts that made a sharp contrast with herself. Xia Guixuan said with a smile, "We'll stay in the hotel." "Oh, are you so impatient?" The proprietress smiled and handed over a sign and a pack of condoms. 404 upstairs. Xia Guixuan, Xia Guixuan. The so-called staying in the hotel is not the routine business of this kind of hotel. Their rooms are specially used for men and women, and they all go upstairs to have fun downstairs. Poor Xia Guixuan was taken upstairs by a man in public, and her reputation has been ruined. Fortunately, no one knows who she is. She is a non-existent person. Even if someone knows her, they recognize the huge couple in the game. Is it strange for this couple to check in? No one cares. Someone said, "That kind of military girl is the most heroic." The military temperament is my cup of tea. Many people actually agreed, that's right, but this one is not hot enough, just like the little white flower. Commander Yan's is the best, forget it. Commander Yan's kind was slapped dislodged before he even got close. It's a pity, brother. But that buddy is smart. It's actually quite interesting to date this kind of little military girl. No, have you heard that Commander Yan has regained his youth? I only heard that anyone who says the word rejuvenation in front of her will be beaten. Was I very old before? The tavern burst into laughter. Bang! Xia Guixuan closed the door of room 404, leaned against the door and panted violently. He always felt that this feeling was really as described in the book, and his heart was beating so fast that it was about to jump out of his throat. Xia Guixuan stood in front of her, tilted his head to look at her, and suddenly smiled. This is also a kind of indulgence that has never been tried, right? Xia Guixuan took a few breaths and sighed. Yes, always following the rules, always standing upright, always stuck in prison. Xia Guixuan's eyes gradually calmed down, and she didn't say anything else about this sentence, but just walked into the room with some fatigue. Looking around, she laughed. The furnishings are the same as in the game, but I changed the room in the game myself. Xia Guixuan smiled. Yes, it's pink. In fact, it's also pink here. The lights are pink. It's very ambiguous. As long as a single man and a single woman come in, the first thing they think of is the bed. But at this moment, the two of them are just standing face to face, looking into each other's eyes. This is reality. Xia Guixuan suddenly emphasized. You said you wanted to see me to talk, so I came to see you, as if she was afraid that he would pounce on her the next moment, so she blocked her words in front of her. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, "What I said to Gongsun Jiu is that I miss you." Xia Guixuan swallowed her saliva and said, "You, how different is this place from the game?" Xia Guixuan walked to the windowsill and drew back the curtains. Same hotel, same room 404. Look at the neon over there, even the letters are the same. The grocery store opposite, Tisk, the counters are all the same. Of course there are differences. Xia Guixuan walked to his side and looked for a while, then shook her head and said, "There are no such people downstairs in the game. It's just that the people who were originally offline are online." Xia Guixuan was stunned, feeling that this statement was actually somewhat timeless, and it seemed to be pointed, so she didn't answer for a while. Life is originally a game. You and I are both in the play. Xia Guixuan reached out and stroked her cheek, whispering, "Look, you are so used to it that you never thought of avoiding it." Xia Guixuan's heart was beating faster and faster. She found that Xia Guixuan was right. She really had no intention of avoiding him. Everyone was really too used to it. The same place, similar environment, the same you and me. Is it because the previous game was too real? I want it to be unreal, but I got used to it. Or is life just a game? Or a play? I have always just played the role of a marshal. She could only reluctantly say, did you see me just asleep with me?" Xia Guixuan's hand that was stroking her cheek naturally turned into his embrace. He leaned forward and whispered in her ear, "Don't you want to?" Xia Guixuan subconsciously pushed his chest. "I don't want to, but I want to punish you." After hearing this, Xia Guixuan's strength in pushing him weakened by 3 points. She said weakly, Why do you want to punish me?" "A woman flirted with me and said she didn't want to see me." "Can't I hold my breath?" Xia Guixuan pouted and said weakly, "Didn't we agree on this?" Xia Guixuan blinked, "And Gongsun Jiu owes me a favor this time." He said that he has a sister who can take the blame for him. Xiaoju was stunned for a moment, angry and amused. He never said that. How do you know? Xia Guixuan said. Will he convey every word he said to me to you? Xiaoju was dumbfounded. How to refute this? Xia Guixuan slowly put his lips to hers. Look, 2 crimes. Can I punish you? Xiaoju didn't even think about how to refute. She was already kissed by him. Still no consciousness to avoid. Too used to it. Even the feeling of this kiss is exactly the same as in the game. There is no difference at all. Recommending a new book I Sing Enka in Tokyo. This is a very badly written book. The author writes 20,000 words a day with high-intensity swearing, and the illustrations are updated more frequently than the chapters. Chapter 212 Under the Eastern Fence. Xia Guixuan was wondering before whether it counted as sleeping together or not. Xiaoju was also wondering at this moment whether she had been deceiving herself before. Because there was really no difference, all the feelings were the same, even the electric shock of the first kiss was gone. Even this female body was a non-existent person in reality. There was nothing shameful about being seen going upstairs with a man, because no one could find this person anyway. So what was the difference between being a female heroine in the game? What you can do and indulge in the game can actually be done in reality. The girl with glasses in the game can indulge herself, so why can't Xiaoju, who doesn't exist in reality, do the same? Xia Guixuan parted his eyes slightly, looked at her already somewhat blurred eyes, and said in a voice like the devil's temptation, you said that you only indulge in games, and you dare not do it in reality. In fact, I have never figured out why you dare not do it in reality. Since you are also following the interstellar voyage, other people will be so depressed in that prison that they need to come to the city to drink and vent. Do you have to hold it in and only dare to vent in the game? That is not venting, that is greater repression. Xiaoju panted, thinking of the demons dancing downstairs, the shock and madness that rushed into the soul. Something in my heart was gradually broken and growing. Yes, why can others indulge themselves, but I have to hold it in? It stands to reason that I can be more indulgent, and the person who needs to be a model soldier is Gongsun Jiayu, not Xiaoju. What is there to hold back for a non-existent person? Why are you talking so much? Xiaoju panted in a low voice, gritting his teeth and said, you just want to cheat, the gun, you were the one who lied first, I said it was a punishment, eh? What did I lie to you about? Anyway, you were with the army, but you didn't tell me. Xiaoju didn't argue about this. Although the reason was wrong, she was indeed lying to him, and she was too guilty to argue. The crazy thoughts in this situation were stirring, and she had the intention to punish herself, and it seemed that she wanted to take advantage of this moment to break the ground. Maybe he was right, Gongsun Jiayu should be punished, no one could punish him, and he would not punish him. Then the punishment should be on Xiaoju, and she could take the punishment on her behalf. The string in her heart was completely broken, and Xiaoju's eyes, which had always been calm, were burning with an increasingly strong fire of indulgence. She gritted her teeth and said, come on. Xia Guixuan pressed her, put her hands on her back, and faced outward against the windowsill. The neon lights outside the window flickered, ambiguous and hazy. The name of the main street was messy and broken, Dongli Street. In the distance, the lights of the city lord's mansion were noisy. That was Ling Moxu enjoying the respect. In the near distance, the motorcycle was running wild and roaring. There were noises from all directions, fighting sounds, mechanical sounds, and the explosions of heavy metal music, intertwined together, and the demons were dancing wildly. It made people feel as if there were demons running around, and they just wanted to shout loudly and release themselves to their heart's content. So the consciousness of humiliation was gone, and a kind of morbid madness was spreading. The so-called self-punishment and the so-called self-blame were supposed to be like this, right? Tie your hands behind your back in front of the winner of the bet and let him teach you that your mistake might have harmed the entire fleet. Gongsun Jiayu, how are you going to redeem yourself? In order to save you, Ling Moxu let go of Long Gaiao, and he has already compensated. What about your share? He took off his military belt. Severe pain, madness, depravity, collapse, and blasphemy. The indulgence of reality is real. Everything ended. The battlefield of the two people didn't know when they had reached the bed. Xiaoju leaned weakly on Xia Guixuan's shoulder to rest, and the two were silent. Until the end, even the military uniform was not untied, and Xia Guixuan was still hugging a little military flower, which seemed to represent that this battle was between Xia Guixuan and Gongsun Jiu from beginning to end. "You are a pervert," Xiao Jiu finally said faintly. "I'm not," Xia Guixuan smiled. "I have been with my woman Xiao Jiu from the beginning to the end, just for fun." "Humph." Xiao Jiu buried her head in her shoulders and didn't dare to raise it. She muttered, "You won't bully Xiao Jiu like this. The reason you do this is because you saw it, right?" "Huh." Xia Guixuan finally laughed. "Have you reacted?" "I reacted when it hurt the most," Xiao Jiu said faintly. "To you? You are really teaching Gongsun Jiu a lesson, pervert." "Am I the pervert or are you the pervert who pretends to be a man?" Xiao Jiu was silent for a moment, and whispered, "I didn't mean to hide it from you. I was hiding it from everyone in the world. It was my injustice to meet you." At this point, he laughed again. "In fact, it's nothing for you to know, and you won't tell everyone. I'm used to hiding it, and I can't turn around, or I can't let go of my face." When everything collapsed, I felt that it didn't matter. They all left behind. It was almost like Gongsun Jiu was being hidden by you. "What face do I have? Why do you want to dress up as a man?" Xia Guixuan was puzzled. "I see you are not so feudal now. Aren't you used to empresses, female generals, female priests and female presidents?" Initially it was to continue the family line, but in fact it was also to get promoted. In fact, it will be more troublesome for women to be in power in the military than men, and they will encounter more gossip and questioning. If Wu Yu was a man, do you believe that she would have done better in the military? At least she wouldn't be considered a mistress when she entered the deputy marshal's office. Xia Guixuan was silent. "It's the same for me. As a man, Gongsun Jiu, when I was appointed as the captain of the frigate after graduation, the most I encountered was people mocking the Gongsun family for their powerful backing and the rigid class structure. But in fact, if I wanted to do something, I wouldn't have many constraints. If it was a girl, Gongsun Jiu, guess how difficult my initial steps would be. 3 years ago, would I have been able to raise my arms and call for action to sideline the original commander-in-chief and fight the Donglan counterattack that made me rise?" Xia Guixuan thought about it and agreed, "That's right. If it was a woman, she couldn't do it. So the female General Axa can only hope that Taikang will become a better person, instead of becoming the queen herself." "The book is over. Don't mention it, you'd better finish it. That's her destiny. If you don't finish it, Moxu will sue you." Xiaoji laughed. "Okay." The two were silent for a moment, and Xiaoji continued quietly, "If you don't expect Taikang to become a good person, then you can be Taikang yourself." So I became Gongsun Jiu. When I have been doing this for a long time and have concealed the truth from the world for 30 years, can I still say that this is actually a woman? Usually, a stain may lead to the dismissal of a general. Can a person who has deceived the world still be the commander of the world? Xia Guixuan hesitated and said, "In fact, it is not impossible. As long as you have complete control of the power, then let alone the stain of deceiving the world, even if you are a butcher, so what? People's reputation and reputation will not mean much at a certain time, so I need a battle to seal the wolf and occupy the Sioux. It is not enough now. My prestige accumulation and actual power control are not as high as people think. The factions in the army are very complicated. It is okay to listen to the orders of the marshal normally, but it is far from enough to want to obey orders. Don't treat each family as a tool. There will be many people eyeing this position, so your Yuanjia was so hasty this time. Is it not because you are eager for quick success?" "Yes, although I do think this is the best time overall, but I can't say whether there is any impatience in my heart." "So is this a success?" "Half of it is a success. It can be considered awe-inspiring in the star field. The final failure is known only to you and me, not others." Xiaojiu sighed. "It's still not enough, unless, what? I will unify the descendants of the gods." Xiaojiu raised his head slightly and looked at his profile. "So in fact, everything depends on your thoughts? After all, this is your planet." Chapter 213 It's the right time. This is Xia Guixuan's planet, and everything cannot be separated from his will. Even if he himself did not intend to be a ruler, the connection is too deep, and the cause and effect are there. You want to rule the descendants of the gods, can you bypass the father god? When the human warships and Shangxiai confronted each other, the brain-damaged fox princess watched the human heavy tanks crushing into her home. Can you bypass it? No. Xiaoji once tried to challenge, but now this sentence is considered to be a complete recognition of the superior and inferior, leaving everything to Xia Guixuan to decide. 1 technological civilization, 1 cultivation civilization, 2 incompatible civilizations must be forcibly integrated into one, just like Zelter, which still has the lead of civil strife. In fact, there is no need, Xia Guixuan said leisurely. With me here, you may only be a sister country forever. Xiaojiu looked a little strange. Most people call this a brother country, but he turned it into a sister country, because the leaders of both sides are women. And they are all sisters in his backyard, right? Even within Daxia, the division of military and political affairs, the representatives of both sides are his women. The affairs of the world have inexplicably become family affairs. Xiaoju had the illusion that his lifelong efforts had paid off, and he also had the feeling that he had been running towards the stars and the sea, but ended up crashing into someone's backyard. He thought he was running hard, but in fact he was just a pendant on the car. That feeling was really weird. If you ask what he was stubborn about before, it was probably because he wanted to prevent this weird feeling from collapsing. It is difficult for outsiders to understand such emotions. She couldn't help asking, I received a report from the Southwest Defense Zone, saying that Shangzhou attacked at night. If our rear is always like this, and both sides hate each other, it's obviously not going to work. It may be suppressed when you are here, but what if you are not here? I know you won't stay on Kanglong Star forever. This is just an unexpected stop for you. Xia Guixuan looked at the ceiling and thought for a long time, then whispered, I'm waiting too. Huh? There's a fool. He has a lot of human identity, but he is a descendant of the Fox King. If there's someone who can replace me as a glue, it can only be her. Xia Guixuan seemed to say to himself, the first person I met after leaving the retreat, the first person who made me stay. There is a will of heaven in the dark. Xiaojiu raised her head slightly from his shoulder, with a complicated look in her eyes. He was talking about Yin Xiaoru. There is a very strange phenomenon, that is, Xia Guixuan never hesitates to talk about other women in front of women. He looks as if it is a matter of course, like an old emperor. And this phenomenon is particularly prominent in front of her. Because she is still a non-existent person, as long as she doesn't want to face the world as a woman, she will never be able to compete with anyone for him openly. He was always just a cheater, his own positioning was like this, Gongsun Jiayu's arrangement for his sister was like this, and the psychological hints given to him were still like this. Of course, she wanted to be jealous but she didn't know how to eat. She sighed, and decided not to dwell on the issue. But to talk about something practical, you can wait for your observation, but in reality, there are many matters that are not subject to our personal will. Just like Shangzhou's sneak attack this time, as the supreme commander of the military, I will not be able to explain myself if I don't take retaliatory action when I go back. That was originally Queen Zelta's plan to provoke internal conflicts between the two tribes of Kanglong Star. It would be best if they kept entangled and had no time to care about Zelta. If you really retaliate, you will fall into the trap. You just need to reply to all parties accordingly. Xiao Jiayu was stunned. Can Queen Zelta influence Shangzhou? Why, you don't believe what I said, and you want to punish me again? Xia Guixuan turned over and pressed her down. Are you not satisfied yet? No. Xiao Jiayu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Since this is to be announced to all parties, it must be reasonable. What's the use of me believing it? Others, Zhao Gao can say that a deer leading a deer is a horse. You are a great marshal, and you still need to explain this. If I can call a deer a horse, then I can also dress up as a woman. Xia Guixuan thought for a moment and smiled. Anyway, there are no casualties. Just let Shangzhou pay some war compensation. Besides, you don't have to rush back. Xiaoji shook her head slightly. With this great victory, I can just go back to launch military reforms and consolidate my authority. I won't hide it from you. By the way, I can purge dissidents and even make political changes. It's not appropriate to linger outside. Unless you really want to make me a pendant, not a helper on the way. This time it was Xia Guixuan's turn to be stunned and look down at her eyes. Xiaoji looked at him quietly and whispered, so that I can show off my women's clothes, and for your arms. Xia Guixuan sometimes suddenly felt that Xiaoji was very pitiful. In fact, people with lofty ideals are very pitiful, because even if they indulge themselves, they can only do it for a moment. More often, they must be self-disciplined, calm, and rational without any enjoyment. So when they really indulge themselves, they may be crazier than anyone else, just like the rampage by the window just now. Okay. I'll let Moxa go back to help you. Xia Guixuan finally said, with her help, it will be easier for you to do things. Xiaojiu couldn't help laughing. If you don't go back, then you won't have a good slave girl serving you. Xia Guixuan slowly reached out to unbutton her military uniform. Yet, how are you going to compensate me? Xiaojiu felt a trembling of her body, bit her lower lip and said, you might as well say how you want to discipline me, pervert. Xia Guixuan smiled, aren't you the craziest one just now? Only by suppressing yourself to the extreme and indulging yourself can you get a release, so it's really bad to have a soulmate like you. It's like seeing people naked. Xiaojiu didn't deny it, but her delicate face was full of charm, while your little slave girl hasn't come back to make trouble yet. Let's indulge ourselves again. Xia Guixuan laughed dumbly. Are you asking for discipline? Xiaojiu trembled slightly. Even if. Right. When I was just Xiaojiu, she even vaguely guessed what would happen. The thing on Ling Moxu's neck was so dazzling before. But if you are in the state of indulgence and depravity, isn't it a different kind of stimulation? Another kind of pleasure? If you don't have a little slave girl to serve you, then you can make up for him? His mind was in a daze, and a collar had indeed appeared on his neck. Sure enough, the thing he was most afraid of at that time came directly. Xiaojiu was not surprised and his mood did not fluctuate at all. He laughed out loud, I know you too, so, knowing each other too well also reduces the fun of exploration. Xia Guixuan lifted her chin, looked at her beautiful and somewhat depraved expression, and whispered, I would rather not find out your disguise. It's not too late. Xiaojiu chuckled, as long as you can still treat Xiaojiu and Gongsun Jiu separately and retain Gongsun Jiu's dignity, but Xiaojiu, you can do anything. As she spoke, her body slowly slid down, and she took the initiative to do something that only Ling Moxu would do. The so-called indulgence in the game is always the most rational and sober, and everything has meaning. Because that is still Gongsun Jiu's thinking and behavior, and Gongsun Jiu deliberately looks for the real mirror in the game. Only by truly breaking up oneself can one indulge oneself so crazily and thoroughly. Swoosh, with a flash of sword light, Ling Moxu got rid of the social engagement and appeared in the house in a rage. Gongsun family woman, don't think of taking advantage of the opportunity to steal, eh? Seeing the scene in front of him, Ling Moxu was stunned. How could this seemingly proud and elegant little military flower be willing to do the same thing as herself? That would be fine, but she actually acted as if no one was around, and didn't even care that she was disturbing him, and even had a little protest, as if to say if you can do it, I can do it too. What's so great about it? It was simply like a collapse and degeneration. Cough. Ling Moxu retreated carefully to the windowsill. It seems I came at the wrong time. Xia Guixuan blinked and waved his hand. Ling Moxu fell over involuntarily and was hugged by Xia Guixuan. No, you came at the right time. Recommend a book game of the World Tree, the most popular NPC in the virtual reality game Elf Kingdom, the incarnation of the World Tree, the mother of nature, the goddess of life, the master of elves. Eve Yggdrasil sat high on her throne, smiling at the players below the stage. Welcome to the world of swords and magic. This is a story about a traverser who has been reborn as a true god and creates a better life in another world with a fourth disaster. Real. P.S. Pseudo D&D, the player flow behind the scenes. Chapter 214. Please kill Xia Guixuan. Donglin's crazy night finally passed. Looking at the rising sun, Xia Guixuan clasped his hands, and his resentment towards Long Gaiao almost disappeared. Without her assist, there would be no comfortable night. Or we should thank the priests who struggled to unfreeze the Zelt battleship at the last moment. I don't know whether it was doing their best to help the queen escape danger, or doing their best to be his wingman. Otherwise, the little slave girl would always have a hurdle of waiting for proof in her heart, not to mention Xiaojiu. I don't know when she will be willing to be honest about her heart. In the end, they both died. As for how to deal with Long Gaiao, Xia Guixuan thought about it and decided to go to Xiang Yuxuan first. With the strength of Kang Longxing alone, it would take many years to really decide the winner with Zelt. Xia Guixuan didn't want to wait slowly for the advancement of human technology and the prosperity of the gods' practice. How long would it take? It is possible to consider sneaking into the main star of Zelter to cause trouble, but you can't go there blindly. At least you have to find out some information first. There will be many things to ask the little apprentice. You can consider it after understanding it. I had this intention when I went to find Xiang Yuxun before. It was accidentally destroyed, and I had to go again. I originally wanted to take Ling Moxu with me and transform Ling Moxu's bloodline. Now think about it, Xia Guixuan may not have it. If there is a suitable one, I can bring it back to Moxu. It is not necessary for her to go. On the contrary, Ling Moxu, as the Princess of Daxia, can really help Gongsun Jiu with many things. I want to be a helper on the way instead of a hind leg. It is a future worth looking forward to. Xia Guixuan felt that the previous what I want to do was a very unclear and casual thing. Now it seems that I have gradually begun to sort out a line, with a clearer purpose, including a clearer expectation of the people around me. Even the personal path has a reference path for digital life and the research of red moon cells. This feeling is actually very good. The most feared thing about finding the way to the end at this stage is being lost. Having a staged behavioral purpose can dilute such confusion and make life meaningful. It also becomes interesting. Xia Guixuan flew away on the wind, and Ling Moxu obeyed the master's task arrangement with a sour face and went back with the warship. When returning to the warship, she was still with the glasses girl from last night. When she got to the warship, the glasses girl disappeared, saying that she had work. After more than 10 minutes, Gongsun Jiu came to drink tea, but was driven away by her. The master asked me to assist you. Don't think you can approach me casually. Get out, Gongsun Jiu. Last night, they were kneeling side by side, one on the left and one on the right to serve the dragon, but today they told them to get out. But she dared to reveal everything to Xia Guixuan, but she really didn't dare to tell Ling Moxu. Once the Ling family knew about this, it would be a lot of fun. She could only say with a straight face, Miss Ling, why do you have to be so narcissistic? Not every man will look at your face. I came here just to express my hospitality. Besides, in this large battle, we all got Miss Ling's help in the end, which can be regarded as a military merit. Especially for me. Miss Ling did save my life. We are planning to hold a merit discussion meeting and invite Miss Ling to attend, so that she can have a sense of participation. Speaking of this, Ling Moxu is a little interested. Last time, she cooperated with Yan Wuyu to kill the enemy, and in the end, she had nothing to do with the merit. She was just like a volunteer. Although she did that with the original intention of pleasing her master, she felt unhappy when she thought about it afterwards. Do you military really regard my merit as not a merit? This time, I protected your marshal to fight against the Zell priest, and you still treat it as nothing. It's really unreasonable. So you are going to give me a medal? Or give me an honorary position? Or just give me a real job? Gongsun Jiu smiled slightly. Miss Ling deserves a senior title. How about the colonel level? Just a little higher than Captain Xia. In fact, it can also be made into a movie, The War of the Princess of Daxia, starring Miss Ling herself, and hire a good screenwriter. Ling Moxu blinked. I feel that I have been led astray by my master. When I heard about this kind of movie, my first reaction was that of a small movie about being captured. I feel that it is not suitable for me. It is more suitable to make one for Queen Zelter, with a master as the male lead. Forget it. Ling Moxu suppressed the messy thoughts and followed Gongsun Jiu to the meeting room. It was quite interesting to participate in the military meeting for the first time. After everyone rested and relaxed, they naturally started to get into work mode. It was not as solemn as expected. After all, it was just an internal meeting. Before the discussion began, someone asked an important question. Marshal, the battle report of the Southwest Defense Zone. Ling Moxu couldn't help but sigh. There are still many people who care about important matters. It is because of these people that Daxia has not been completely corrupted. Gongsun Jiu drank water slowly from a thermos cup. I don't know if he lost too much water last night. Hearing this, he said slowly, oh, that doesn't matter. The descendants of the gods have submitted an apology through Captain Xia, and they will study war compensation at that time. It would have been better if he didn't say this. After saying it, a group of senior generals were stunned. After a long while, someone said, no, why was it submitted to Captain Xia first, instead of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Gongsun Jiu said leisurely, my personal advisor, I gave him the exclusive authority. What's so strange about that? What's the use of Daxia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, just to deal with one country? There will be more in the future. No, that's not the point, someone else said. The key to this matter is not whether to compensate or not. Marshal, don't you think this is a good reason to declare war? The atmosphere was quiet again, and someone immediately agreed, that's right, it's usually hard to find an excuse to declare war on the descendants of the gods. Isn't this a good reason? Who told them to sneak attack first? Just apologize and it's over. everyone was full of opinions. In fact, this was supposed to be the right thing to do. Guangxin Jiayu mentioned this matter to Xia Guixuan last night, which itself contained this meaning. This is the best opportunity and excuse to lead the troops to the descendants of the gods with the momentum of a great victory. The descendants of the gods are a little weak at this time. If the descendants of the gods didn't have a father god like Xia Guixuan, Guangxin Jiayu would have taken this opportunity to pacify King Longstar. It was normal and proper for the generals to think this way. Unfortunately, there was a father god standing by, and they could not get around him in everything. After Guangxin Jiayu's defeat at the hands of the dark demon, he had already put himself in the right position and would never easily consider challenging the will of a taking. Not to mention him. Guangxin Jiayu finally waved his hand. After the incident with the dark demon, everyone should now realize one thing, that we need strong individual practitioners. Otherwise, if the dark demon incarnation sneaks into the ship again, how can we fight the enemy? Yu Gihan was surprised. Marshal, do you mean to make peace with the descendants of God and let them be responsible for this matter in the future? Exactly, this should have been the direction of Kanglong Star in the future. The Kanglong Star fleet at that time will be the strongest fleet, and it will be the time to truly decide the outcome with Zelt. Many people were anxious. This can't be done, Marshal. Do you rely on Captain Xia's diplomacy? And you have to look at the faces of the descendants of God. Even if we need their strength, it is to conquer and incorporate. Did the Marshal listen to the instigation of some treacherous people and lose the spirit of enterprising and pioneering? I suggest investigating whether Captain Xia accepted bribes from the descendants of God. Please behead Xia Guixuan. Ling Moxa couldn't help it, and slammed the table and sneered. His intention is commendable, just as arrogant as the Marshal. As expected, there are generals for every Marshal. Someone frowned and said, "What does Miss Ling mean? Do you really think that the descendants of gods are weak and are weak?" Ling Moxa sneered. Have you forgotten why the descendants of gods were able to hold out in the past? The fundamental reason is that everyone is not sure that they can kill their Wuxiang. No matter how weak they are, as long as Wuxiang is still there, they can make Daxia restless afterwards. Do you really think that this civilization that values individual cultivation is playing military advancement with you? They are still recruiting them, and they suffered a big loss against the dark demons and don't know how to reflect on themselves. This is the benefit of bringing Ling Moxa to the meeting. The scolding made a group of grown men not know how to lose their temper with a little princess, and they stared at each other and thought about the words. Some smart people thought that the Marshal asked Ling Moxa to attend the meeting. Does it mean that the matter of the descendants of gods is actually a kind of compromise between the Marshal and the Ling family? If so, it is better to say less. It is not good for soldiers to meddle in political matters. Guangxin Jiayu scanned the different looks, holding the thermos cup and said slowly, the war compensation with the descendants of God will be negotiated by the head of state. You and I don't need to ask about other things. The meeting to discuss merits begins. The meeting was turned back to the original topic. Guangxin Jiayu held the meeting calmly, sighing in his heart. The time is too short, and the prestige is indeed not enough. Want to restore your female body? I don't know when it happened. Chapter 215 Undercurrents. This meeting actually has two meanings. First, Guangxin Jiayu proved that he had not reached the prestige of saying whatever he wanted, and he could only suppress his inner agitation and expectation. Second, it declared the failure of Long Aiao's provocation. Kanglong Star did not fall into a situation of mutual attack because of that extremely stupid sneak attack. This means that this is the period when Kanglong Star began to practice internal skills diligently and improve greatly, especially after the strange opening song of the Knowledge Memory Crystal, the technical information of the Intercontinental Portal and other very useful technical references were finally revealed. Guangxin Jiayu knew that before the next war, Daxia would be upgraded. But Zelter might be in chaos. Archbishop Turin, who was provoked by Xia Guixuan on the Red Moon Mine Star, has been a thorn in the side. The Zelter people have become bloodthirsty and crazy in recent years, which was originally due to the potential influence of the Dark Demon. Long Aiao could not handle it for a while, and did not dare to publicize it, so he could only endure it temporarily. Now the Yellow Bird is behind, and using the human fleet to remove the Dark Demon is a very perfect layout. It turned out that the incident did not end as expected. On the contrary, it not only did not end, but became even more violent. Once racial rejection and hatred are set off, the so-called Dark Demons are only a trigger and an excuse. Look, the Dark Demons have disappeared, but they are still so bloodthirsty. It can be seen that the previous fall may not be related to the dark demons, but has always been caused by these beasts. Even the birth of the dark demons is due to them. Otherwise, why would the dark energy elsewhere not condense into gods, but only here? Because there are savage and evil beasts that provide nutrients for the evil gods. In order to avoid the reappearance of terrible dark demons, we need to separate light and darkness and welcome light. The logic is very smooth. The key is that there are a huge audience willing to believe. This is a change that cannot be suppressed unless Long Yao conducts a major purge. Will she purge? For a group of savage beasts that need to be controlled by themselves, purge the self-disciplined, self-restrained, and pious bishops? Long Yao is very troubled. History always repeats itself, just like when he was the Fox King, the struggle between good and evil could not be suppressed. The impact has not subsided yet, and there is always a deep wariness and gap between Shangzhai and Hunan. Long Yao felt that no matter what identity she changed, she would always face the same thing, from a planet to a star field. Even the suffocating face pressing on the sky above her head was the same. In fact, Long Yao knew that there was another key factor in this matter, that is, she was not strong enough. If she was really strong enough and could really suppress the star field with her own strength, there would be no undercurrents, and no one could still complain under the suppression of absolute power. Taking a step back, if she had returned with a great victory instead of fleeing in panic, then perhaps she could easily suppress many things and would not be as troubled as she is now. Unfortunately, there is no if. Xia Guixuan was too strong. She used all the means she could use, but in the end, what she could expect was not whether she could deal with him, but to see whether he would choose to kill or save people. What kind of thing is this? It's like an unshakable wall of size. Actually, Xia Guixuan was not without flaws. At least Long Yao knew that he certainly had not recovered his peak strength. For example, he only used the terrifying Tai sword once, and did not use it a second time at the last moment. This was not the true level of a peak taking. For a true peak taking, even if this kind of magical skill is not used casually, at least it should not be cooled down for so long. Even if this move needs to be cooled down, wouldn't it be used in another way? He was injured and has not recovered yet, which led to this performance. So it's not that the skill cools down for a long time, but when the situation does not force him to use his full strength, there is naturally no need to force himself to use various powerful skills, so as not to affect the key injury. Therefore, he has been fighting very restrained. This is not just a problem of not being able to exert his peak strength, but also means that he will inevitably have a key flaw. Just like when a mortal is injured, the wound must be the most vulnerable, and it must be the most painful to attack the wound. Taking's Dao principle injury can actually be compared in this way. There must be a certain attack mode that will make him the most uncomfortable. It's a pity that under normal circumstances, it can't be found at all, and she doesn't have the strength to force this flaw. In the final analysis, it was because my fake taking was not enough, and I couldn't even force him to give it his full strength, let alone force out a flaw. If it was the real taking, even if it was in the early stage, maybe I could really try it with the help of various means. There is a way to become the real taking. Xia Guixuan's judgment before was of course very standard. The original queen was formed by the fusion of different lives, not by her own practice, which made it difficult to achieve taking. In addition, the original queen was also influenced by a certain idea of looking for a certain man, and she was like a puppet. How could there be such taking? So the queen at that time was actually only at the peak of Wuxiang, and she never played a big role in the battle between Zelter and Kang Longxing. After Long Yao's spirit emerged, he broke the idea puppet of looking for a certain man and was now independent. In addition, Long Yao himself had a long-term personal practice and enlightenment, which took him a step further and became a fake taking. As long as the perfection of the fusion of different lives can be solved, then it can be really taking. Isn't the solution in the red moon? The cells in the red moon can convert all energy and life into its energy and life, without distinguishing where the source is. In the final analysis, if all forms are restored to the essence of the cosmic energy, then both in energy and in cognition, they will become true taking. Those cells must not be touched casually, but they can be comprehended. Long Yao has been studying for some time, and with this battle of taking, she really feels very enlightened and confident that she can break through taking. What is the undercurrent in the star field? As long as you achieve taking, you can suppress everything after coming out of retreat. In the face of absolute power, power is fake, and individuals are power. just like Xia Guixuan. Boom, the temple was closed. And Queen Zell chose to retreat when the star field was in turmoil. Shujing, who is the smartest dragon in the world? Little Mushroom Star asked Yusun, a water mirror with faint blue ripples in her mushroom castle. The water mirror spread out circles quietly, and after a long time, it said, Waling's huge Liang, Xiang Yuxin, when you called me water mirror, you were still asking about intelligence. Isn't this the standard answer? It's the same even if you define it as a dragon. Xiang Yuxin changed her tone. Magic mirror, who is the most beautiful dragon in the world? Xia Guixuan, Xiang Yuxin, that face is in your mind. Isn't my answer what you think? No, I asked you before, and you said Xiang Yuxin, don't you see it now? I only answer the answer in your heart, so you are not the omniscient magic mirror, but just a flatterer. If someone tells you that it is omniscient, then it must be picking what you like to say, and so do I. The magic mirror sighed. I'm sorry if I gave you the illusion that you are really the most beautiful in the world before. Xiang Yuxin, magic mirror, then why are you willing to say it so clearly today? Because I always have a feeling recently that I seem to be broken, or you are going to break. Xiang Yuxin frowned tightly. Is this a warning from the spirit of the weapon? What crisis is it warning of? She wiped the mirror carefully. You said, if I lock up Maya, can I attract master? The magic mirror was silent for a while, and suddenly spoke. What I can tell you is that he has entered the Little Mushroom Star region, and if I spy on him again, he will beat me. Oh, shit. The magic mirror was completely silent, and the ripples on the mirror surface were spinning in circles, like the eyes of a person who is knocked unconscious. Xia Guixuan slowly emerged from the ripples and stepped out of the mirror. He rushed towards Yusun. Master, Xia Guixuan pressed her head, but his expression was very serious. Little girl, how come you have the 1000 prism mirror? Chapter 216, the thread finally came together. Xiang Yuxin was dumbfounded. This is just a fun magic mirror, the kind from fairy tales. This is the 1000 primed mirror, the iconic magic weapon of the 1000 primed fantasy world. I don't know how its core has changed and turned into a funny thing. Xia Guixuan stretched out his hand and was about to wave. No matter what, smash it first. No, master. Xiang Yuxin hung on his arm. This mirror is very interesting. It doesn't harm anyone. You also said that it has changed its core. Xia Guixuan frowned. Where did you get this thing? Xiang Yuxin glanced at him carefully. Young Sister Simon gave it to me. Then it's okay. Xia Guixuan turned around and was about to leave. Hey, master, wait a minute. Xiang Yuxin hung on him and dragged him along. Let's talk about this mirror first. Xia Guixuan sighed, stopped and asked, let's not talk about the infinite planes. If it is a finite plane, what shape do you think it should be? Xiang Yuxin thought for a while, stretched out her hand and gestured. A ball. Normally it will be a ball, or an ellipse. A spherical energy crystal emerged from Xia Guixuan's hand, and he made a brief simulation demonstration. But there is a special plane. Xiang Yuxin watched the crystal change from a round shape to a ball with countless facets. In fact, if you magnify it countless times, any sphere can be regarded as composed of countless facets, but this plane is more direct. It is like this, Xia Guixuan said slowly. Each facet is the boundary where it connects with another plane, so its tentacles extend in all directions, plundering one plane after another, conquering one civilization after another. As he spoke, he added small crystals to each facet, and the more they rolled, the bigger and bigger they became, with thousands of facets and endless shapes. Finally, he concluded, this is the 1000 facets fantasy world, and this mirror is one of the facets. Xiang Yuxin rolled up her sleeves in fear and almost smashed the mirror with her own hands. This time, it was Xia Guixuan who held her back. The 1000-edge fantasy world is not connected to this universe. There are at least 7 or 8 planes in between. It's hard for me to find my way there. If this mirror could really lead to it, it would save me a lot of trouble. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Most likely, my sister intercepted a section in another plane, and then used her great magical power to erase the connection with the 1000-edge fantasy world, changing the core to become a portable magic weapon with an independent small space layer inside. That's all. Xiang Yuxin sighed. That's true. There is a space inside the mirror. I use it as a carry-on bag. This kind of magic weapon can contain the universe, and you use it as a bag. Forget it. Xia Guixuan's eyes were dim, and he didn't say much. In his heart, he was thinking, if you look at it from here, His sister might have had a conflict with a thousand-edge fantasy world. This conflict is likely to have occurred earlier when she was chasing and blocking him across multiple planes. I don't know if there is still a conflict now. At this time, he was also an enemy of the thousand-edge fantasy world, and he was still considering how to locate it. For no reason, he felt like he was reconnected with her. Qianling fantasy world was the junction. This realization made him feel complicated for a moment, and he forgot why he came to find Xia Guixuan. Maya sneezed in the water prison. Xia Guixuan said, "Since this mirror belongs to a cross-section of the Thousand Edges fantasy world, can Master also try to use it as a directional primer? Just like a wizard uses other people's hair to cast a spell, indeed, it is possible, at least it is more certain." Xia Guixuan came to his senses and said with a smile, "I didn't have time to take away the plane jump device I bought at the auction before, so this thing can be used in combination." Xia Guixuan grinned and said, "Master, do you still want to find the seller? We did plan to kidnap people and take them to Kanglong Star, but we were disrupted by the drama of Queen Zelt. The seller must have left a long time ago, right?" "No." Xia Guixuan blinked. "I kept it here and tricked it into being an engineer for us, and it agreed." "Huh? The people who would sell this kind of plane jump technology are the people who sold their belongings to find another way out after a certain plane caravan fell from power. Selling things also means recommending themselves. Master wanted to find it before, and he probably felt this way." "Yeah, that's true." Xia Guixuan rubbed her head. "I thought you were just fooling around before, but now I find you look quite good." Xia Guixuan put her hands behind her back and made a V-shaped gesture. "Moi, the dog-headed military advisor, is quite useful. At least he knows why the master bought the things at that time. I'll release him later. He looks pitiful in the water prison. Then, take me to see the seller." "The seller is a half human and half machine life. Even his face is half machine. One eyeball is normal and the other eyeball is metal. It seems that half of his body was blown up and then supplemented by machines." Xia Guixuan felt at a glance that this person's technology would definitely complement the humans of Kanglong Star very well, and they felt like a perfect match. As if due to damaged vocal cords, he even spoke in electronic tones. "Going to Kanglong Star? I heard that it is a low-level civilization." Xia Guixuan was speechless. "Who did you hear that from?" "I heard that they are mainly technological warships. Zelt's technology is already very bad, and they are being suppressed by Zelt. If it's not a low-level civilization, what is it? You are so poor that you have to sell yourself, but you still discriminate against the technology of Zelt, the overlord of the star field, because Zelt mainly uses energy technology, not real science and technology. Their research is based on energy, spirit, mind and flesh and blood, and they believe in gods. In a sense, they are just the evolution of ancient religions or wizard civilizations. We have seen some planes that still worship the Emperor of God and the God of Marriage, which is simply, Xia Guixuan rubbed his fists. "The representative of the ancient wizard civilization is here. Do you have any objection? Barbarians, stop pretending. If you were really awesome you wouldn't become a stray dog." The man's mechanical eyes flickered, and fear appeared in his life eyes. "That one is different. It is a terrible hybrid civilization. The individual practice is extremely powerful, and the scientific cognition is not inferior to any civilization. It feels like a monster that has grown up by constantly absorbing countless different knowledge." Xia Guixuan and Xia Guixuan looked at each other, and they saw the four words Qianling fantasy world again in each other's eyes. That is the civilization that best fits the description. It's really a coincidence? Or is it because Qianling fantasy world must have a channel or fulcrum in the near plane? This is why they can cross 7 or 8 planes to plant seeds in Kanglong Star. No wonder I have never figured out how they can do it, Xia Guixuan whispered. They would rather plant a seed and slowly take over the body to practice. They choose this dangerous and roundabout way, and they have to get involved here. There must be something here that makes them particularly eager to get involved. Xia Guixuan suddenly realized, is it the fossil used by the Queen, Red Moon, a half-step supreme demon cell? I don't know if it is true, but Xia Guixuan instinctively thinks it should be, because only in this way can there be a thread connecting the whole process. This is not some inexplicable chaos among multiple parties. There is a reason from beginning to end. Kanglong Star is just the Qianling fantasy realm that has probed into the star field and tried to find a stepping stone for Hongyu. If so, there must be the people inside Zelter, not just Kanglong Star. Does Longyao know? Xia Guixuan asked the cyborg, "What's your name, Luo Wei? No matter how many dimensions you have, I just want to tell you that the current Kanglong star is your only base for revenge, because Kanglong star has just been caused by your enemies. A civil strife has almost destroyed it. How can I believe you?" Xia Guixuan was too lazy to talk to him slowly. "That was Gongsun Jiayu's job, you don't need to believe me. Anyway, you have to go even if I beat you up." He grinned and clenched his fist as big as a vinegar pot. "Anyway, I am a barbarian. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 217 The Disciple Maya was released. Because his Mr. Xia Guixuan finally remembered that someone was needed to send Luo Wei to Kanglong Star. Others who went to Kanglong Star region would be stopped in Donglan. Maya knew Princess Ling Moxu. So the forgotten Maya finally saw the light of day again. "I knew the master would come to save me," Maya cried. "The master will not abandon the loyal Maya." Ahem. Xia Guixuan was a little embarrassed, turned to ask Xiang Yuxin, "Your grudge with it?" "It has a grudge against me, and I didn't lock it up for fear that it would cause trouble," Xiang Yuxin said nonchalantly. "I have no grudge against it. Even if I did, after I tricked it into being surrounded by Zelt, that bit of anger disappeared. In fact, it was able to escape with the remnants of the army because I was secretly supporting it. It still doesn't understand it and thinks it's lucky." Maya was stunned for a moment. "You supported me," Xiang Yuxin sneered. "In our eyes, you are not a family member who embarrasses yourself outside and gives your family a headache, that's all. Don't you think outsiders see it that way? That big-headed pirate group said they left the Little Mushroom Star to become pirates, but who knows if the Dragon Clan is supporting them to become pirates behind the scenes? You look like a mushroom, the only family in the universe. Can you split it?" Maya held the big head in silence. "Why do we grow mushrooms?" Xiang Yuxin said with her hands on her hips. "Don't you find that there are fewer and fewer naturally grown mushroom people? If this continues, they will be extinct in less than 1,000 years. If you are the leader, think about it yourself. Do you want to watch them become extinct, or find a way to continue?" Maya looked at Xia Guixuan for help, but Xia Guixuan didn't say anything. From a perspective that it has nothing to do with him, extinction is extinction. Aren't there many extinct lives in the universe? But this high-handed observation perspective is the direction Xia Guixuan wants to gradually abandon now. If he puts himself in the perspective of entering the play, he will indeed want to continue. Xiang Yuxin seems to be doing things in a ridiculous way, but in fact, her starting point is quite meaningful. When we grow mushrooms, we are not creating them out of thin air, because we are still using the way of heaven in the star field to breed mushroom people, just like the artificial insemination methods of other civilizations. We did not create mushroom people out of thin air. So you think that they are not our people? Ask the humans who performed artificial insemination if they agree. Moa held her head and squatted in defense. "Stop talking, you said that the mushroom people will all be servants," Xiang Yuxun said. "Can you beat the dragon? If you can, then you will be the leader. If you can't, what are you talking about? Everyone is in a power system. Do you think this is a system where everyone is equal? You are a pirate and give way to the sailors? Did the dragon-slaying little mushroom still become a dragon? I heard that it was almost killed by a human rebellion." Moya, Xiang Yuxun concluded his speech. "I've said that I've finished what I wanted to say, Xia Guixuan. When you look at something from different angles, there is actually no right or wrong. The Dragon Clan has always been ruled by the royal family and has always boasted of their noble bloodline, which is imprinted in their bones. You talk about equality with dragons? If there was any fault, it was Maya who burned, killed and looted as a pirate, and it was retribution that he was chopped off." Xia Guixuan suddenly felt that it was right for it to be locked up in the water dungeon. Even Maya hung her head and did not speak. It did not think there was anything wrong with its resistance. If there was any fault, it was after it became a pirate. But it also seemed that the little princess could not be said to be wrong. "Little Mushroom Star can no longer accommodate you," Xiang Yuxun said. "Other mushroom people hate you for ruining their reputation, so much so that they are often questioned when they go out on caravans. It's good that they don't chop you off. You can either continue to be a pirate and die in a clearing, or follow my master. With your experience in interstellar navigation, maybe there's a place for you to play in the heavens and the worlds. Provided that my master wants you. Maya thought for a long time without hope, and finally sighed. I can only follow the master. Xia Guixuan was very kind. Your crystal is pretty good. The two men showed a tacit look. Xia Guixuan shuddered, and suddenly thought that putting this bastard Maya next to her master would not produce some bad chemical reactions. Maya still had a small fleet of more than a dozen ships. The sailors on the ships, including some foreign miners who had been received before, were still staying on the station planet. Except that they could not leave the stationed planet, their freedom was not restricted. Maya gathered the old friends, took Xia Guixuan's warrant and went to Kanglong Star with Luo Wei. The back of her was quite desolate, as if the free pirates who traveled all over the world had their spirit broken. If master wasn't here, it might have a quarreled with me, Xia Guixuan said. The situation is stronger than the person now. Master won't stand on its side. It has lost its spirit. But master should be careful. People like Maya are too wild. To put it bluntly, they are rebellious. Tisk. Xia Guixuan smiled. It depends on who it's with. Xia Guixuan smiled apologetically. That's right. In front of master, even a dragon has to coil. Xia Guixuan picked her up and said, try to coil and see. Xia Guixuan turned into a little white dragon and coiled in the air, blinking her big eyes. Xia Guixuan laughed dumbly. Come to think of it, master has really started to plan for the rise of Kanglong Star. The changes that this group of people will bring to Kanglong Star when they go there will be huge. If Zelda doesn't respond in the short term, they will have a headache in the future. The little white dragon looked up and smiled. Master said he didn't want to be in charge of things, but in fact, he has now treated Kanglong Star as his own harem. Right, you are the only one who sees so many things. Xia Guixuan looked up and down at the mosquito-repellent-coated little white dragon for a long time. Have you been possessed by another's body? Why do you act so old-fashioned? No. I am in charge in front of the mushrooms. I'm used to it. It's strange. Your family let a child like you be in charge of the trade in a star field? Where are the adults in your family? They are in charge of the trade in the heavens. This is just a small place. I know that the final battle of Master was near this star field. And he insisted on being in charge of this area. Actually, Xia Guixuan seemed to want to say something, but hesitated. Soon, she showed a bright smile. It's okay. It's good that Master is here. Stay a few more days this time. There are many fun things here, and Master hasn't played them yet. Xia Guixuan finally couldn't help asking, I've never been nice to you. Why are you so nice to me? Xia Guixuan secretly glanced at him, with some strange colors in her eyes, but she didn't say it directly, just smiled. I want to learn Master's practice method. Since Xiaolong is so well behaved, can I become a disciple? Xia Guixuan asked curiously. Just for this, Xia Guixuan said seriously. Just for this, Xia Guixuan shook his head. As I thought when I was teaching the little fox before, it is indeed a very important thing for them to accept disciples. They have inherited too many causes and effects, and they are also deeply bound. Before they plan to open the altar to pass on the Dharma, they generally will not easily accept disciples. When they really plan to accept disciples, they will be very cautious and meticulous. Of course, now that her mind has changed, it doesn't matter whether there is a bond or not, and the so-called inspection is actually over. Maybe she has some other little thoughts, so what does it matter? Xia Guixuan didn't even have a strong desire to delve deeper, because the good things he could see now were real. Just the fact that he took the trouble to collect the fragments of the Juntai sword was a favor so important that Xia Guixuan could hardly refuse. No matter what she really wanted, what was wrong with satisfying her? What was more important was, you are my disciple, so you have to bear my karma. There are some things you may not be able to bear. In this kind of relationship, you can completely watch the karma and not be involved. Xia Guixuan looked at him very seriously. Disciple has been prepared. The implication was that, in fact, I already knew all about your past, your old enemies and old lovers. What really matters is which room to enter. The little white dragon slowly turned pink. Then, Xia Guixuan didn't notice that she turned pink, and his expression became very serious. You are my founding disciple, and you can fulfill the will of the human Emperor Dragon. Chapter 218, Summer. The blue dragon of Xia Guixuan has always been just a meaning. It comes from the ancient dragon symbol of China. Before the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, China had dragons, but the concept of dragons at that time was not necessarily the same as that of dragons later, and they were not even necessarily called dragons. There were similar things in different regional cultures, with different shapes, different sources, and different meanings. There are many different opinions. The real correspondence with a human emperor related to the regime should start from the Xia dynasty. If you use the perspective of today's Earth Mother Star to observe the stars, you will find that the Blue Dragon constellation is very strange. If you draw a line connecting the 7 constellations of Jiao, Kang, Di, Feng, Xin, and Wei, the shape is crooked and does not look like a dragon at all. Why do you point to these 7 constellations and say they are the Blue Dragon constellations? Because the stars are always moving, the position of the stars today is not the same as it was back then. If you turn the time back to June 21st, 1740 BC, and look at these 7 constellations again, the curves outline are very familiar. It is exactly the same as the turquoise dragon unearthed from the Erlatau site. Erlatau ruins, formerly known as the Xia capital of Yingxin, was moved here after Si Kang ascended the throne. The nobles sacrificed themselves by holding the dragon in their arms. The 7 stars formed a dragon, and between the tail and the key was the Milky Way, which meant that the dragon jumped out of the abyss. The hexagram said, or leap in the abyss. And this dragon shape is exactly the same as the core shape of the word Xia in bronze inscriptions. Adding people and divination, it forms Xia. The blue dragon came out of the abyss. On this day, the people of the world formed the first family dynasty, named Xia. In the field of great joy, the Xia emperor started the 9 generations here, riding 2 dragons, and the clouds covered 3 layers. This day is the summer solstice. This season is called summer. People's astronomical calendars have matured and guided the farming time. The worship of gods has a clear and unified direction. There are shell music, singing and dancing, and great rituals. It is called summer. Xia Guixuan can abandon sea, but he always wears Xia. His ties have always been here and have never been forgotten. So Xia Guixuan said that all kinds of dragons are different. At least his dragon intention is not the same as those dragons who like to shine. His cultivation has been the intention of the blue dragon since the foundation. It is an innate hang. It responds to the Emperor of Heaven above and the Emperor of Man below, so it advances by 1,000 miles a day. Therefore, the descendants of the gods feel the intention of the Father God, and they are definitely a blue dragon, so they are called the blue dragon star. When the Father God comes out of retreat, the blue dragon appears in the sky. In fact, it is not the same as the Dragon Clan demon cultivation method that he casually pointed out to Xia Guixuan before, but the real Shinto cultivation method, his core method of Xia Guixuan. Although Xia Guixuan no longer attaches importance to the dragon intention after taking, this is the foundation. Inheriting this, he is indeed his descendant, and it is very likely to be the only one. What Xia Guixuan wants is definitely not the method of demon cultivation, but this is what she came for. The little lolly has big ideas, but Xia Guixuan doesn't care. Xia Guixuan explained a little bit, but still stopped, and said thoughtfully, if you want to deeply understand this meaning, it is useless to rely on explanation. If you want to learn it, Xia Guixuan blinked her eyes. Was the next sentence sleep with a master first? But Xia Guixuan continued, if there is a chance, I should take you to experience that kind of ancient wilderness. It doesn't have to be China, other places are fine. Xia Guixuan felt bored and said listlessly. A master who doesn't tease his apprentice is not a good master. To be honest, she really couldn't get into it. The meaning of Xia Guixuan's words was indeed far away from a lolly lying in a shining castle. Her mind was still full of Xia Guixuan's face, which was so beautiful. Xia Guixuan looked at her expression in silence. Forget it, you don't want to learn anything real for the time being. How about this, I will teach you the skills first. I haven't used this set of related 9-star dragon secrets for a long time. Now it is just right for you. When you master it, you may be able to disprove the method, and that's it. Xia Guixuan took the jade slip he handed over and said sweetly, thank you, master. Xia Guixuan looked her up and down. You are a Qianyuan, pretending to be a Kanglong at the peak of Wuxiang, and you also took the cannon. Although it proves that you are a little dragon king with many treasures and your magic weapon is extremely powerful, I still suggest that you borrow less external objects. Once you develop a habit, it's not a good thing. Xia Guixuan felt a little regretful. She found that after becoming his disciple, this master became more serious as a strict teacher. This is not the kind of master I want. He is not as cute as he was before when he was hiding. There seems to be something wrong here. It's not just a matter of master-disciple relationship, but it seems that this practice inheritance itself is a very serious matter for him. She could only smile weakly. The reason I dared to take on the naval guns at that time was not only because of the magic weapon, but also because of my family's dragon blood inheritance. In times of crisis, I can form the protection of dragon power. Unless there is someone who specifically restrains me, it's not easy to hurt me. In fact, this is a little Lolita who can't be hurt. Don't look at her small size. The strength of her body is far beyond what ordinary people can imagine. The dragon blood of your family, Xia Guixuan was stunned. The solemn feeling of being immersed in some past events slowly disappeared. He asked, "Can you get some for me?" Xia Guixuan asked curiously, "Master still needs this." "Oh, get some from Ozu. She is on the path of sword cultivation. The blood of the divine dragon is extremely beneficial to her bodybuilding and sword energy. In fact, my blood is a little bit biased for her. It may not be suitable." Xia Guixuan had a little distress on his face. He scratched his head and said, "If I can just give her some blood, I can cut my finger. But this is a bit tricky. It may look mighty like a dragon, but it won't be long before you find out that it is actually useless." "It's squeezed out by the master's blood." Xia Guixuan couldn't help laughing. "The first thing you think of is how to use fake goods to deceive people." Xia Guixuan grinned and said, "Using fake goods is not necessarily a bad thing. Just like there was a family on Kanglong Star who wanted to turn their legitimate daughter into a boy. I used a fake transformation technique to exchange for a lot of money." "Hey, today, is the master going to praise me or scold me?" Xia Guixuan asked curiously. "So it was you who really tricked Gongsun Jiayu? What are you thinking? Is it your habit to trick people, or do you have a purpose?" "Half and half. I feel that the girl has the dragon energy of the Emperor, similar to that of Master, but it's relatively thin. If she really became a man, maybe she could really achieve great success in the world. At that time, I thought that the descendant of God was the descendant of Master, and I helped the descendant of God, so of course I didn't want her to succeed. Then I tricked her. Once she used my transformation technique, there would naturally be a conflict of techniques. She couldn't use other similar techniques for at least 100 years. Xia Guixuan twitched his cheek and patted her shoulder. "Don't show up in front of her in the future. I'm afraid she will beat you." "I don't care," Xia Guixuan suddenly said. "In fact, Master doesn't think that she is more suitable to inherit Master's practice method, so you are eliminating a competitor for yourself. No, she doesn't need to use my practice method, because she is following the ambition of the human emperor, not the individual." "But," Xia Guixuan put his hands in his pockets, "you tricked her well." "Very well." The master and the apprentice put their hands in their pockets and looked at each other for a while, both showing strange expressions. Xia Guixuan suddenly felt that the master had become cute. It seems that the master can only become strange when playing prank? Or is it because of a woman? Ahem. Let's get to the point. Xia Guixuan coughed twice. "Just now I said that your blood is a pitfall. Do you need a taking level dragon to grant you the blood of true essence? Yes, then you will be qualified to merge with the blood of the master." Xia Guixuan was a little distressed. "This can't be obtained for a while. I'll see if I can find a chance later." Before she finished speaking, a strange mechanical electronic sound came from the core of the castle. "Little princess, pay attention. Little princess, the family headquarters has issued a new assessment task. Sell iced sour plum soup to the flame demon realm. Task goal, sell 10,000 copies or establish a long-term trade contract. Task time limit, 1 month." The expressions of the master and the apprentice became very exciting at the same time. Xia Guixuan knew how Xia Guixuan, a funny businessman, was cultivated. Xia Guixuan thought of the mirror saying, "I'm going to break, or you're going to break. Take a rest, there will be no more tonight." Speaking of the reference to Xia, you can see the relevance video. The past of Lao Xia in this book also refers to some other mountain and sea systems, not the prehistoric flow, which will be slowly unfolded in the future, including the back of Long Lolly. Chapter 219 Little Fox. Under normal circumstances, Xia Guixuan would not think of such ominous things. After all, her family assessment is very routine. It is a funny task accompanied by some dangerous tasks. In fact, it is the due meaning of training business ability and risk responsibility. Xia Guixuan is already used to it. But the mirror said something like, "I feel like I'm going to break," inexplicably before, which made her feel a little gloomy. The magic mirror is psychic, and it will never make meaningless remarks without any basis. It must be to confirm something. But thinking about it, there is nothing special. There is actually more than one so-called flame demon realm. Many planes with flame demons as the main body can be called flame demon realm. There is no special direction for the task. You can choose any one. Although no matter which one is difficult to deal with, you can at least screen it and choose a relatively simple one. This is much more comfortable than some special tasks in the past, which did not even have room for choice. Seeing her stunned look, Xia Guixuan couldn't help asking, "Why? Is this task very troublesome? Do you need help?" No, the master has a lot of things to do. How dare I trouble the master with such a small matter? Xia Guixuan smiled and said, "In fact, according to the rules, we can't ask outsiders for help, otherwise the meaning of the assessment will be lost." What is this assessment for? It's for people like us who are responsible for important tasks. After passing the assessment, we can continue to be responsible. If we excel in the assessment many times, we can add responsibilities. This is also very common for a force. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, "I have accumulated enough before. If I excel 1 or 2 more times, maybe I can get an important position in the family. Aren't you a little princess?" There are more than 1 or 2 princes and princesses. Xia Guixuan understood. Is it related to the fight for the throne in the end? Xia Guixuan scratched his head. Maybe. No one has thought about it. After all, the dragon god is immortal, and there is no inheritance or non-inheritance. Xia Guixuan noticed that she was talking about dragon god instead of father god, mother god. He didn't know if it was special in their clan. It's a pity that the deadline for this mission is a bit tight, and I can't spend a few more days with Master. Xia Guixuan sighed a little frustrated. I thought Master would have nothing to do recently, but it turns out that I am busy. Xia Guixuan laughed and handed over a green dragon-shaped jade pendant. It doesn't matter, there is still a lot of time. This jade pendant is regarded as the proof of our master-disciple relationship. If they meet my acquaintances, they will recognize it as my token and know that this is my recognized disciple. Well, it's best not to show it to others casually. Xia Guixuan took the jade pendant with a strange expression. Got it, The token is just a proof of identity, not a magic weapon. But there is a wisp of my divine consciousness stored in it. As long as you don't deviate too much from the plane, if you encounter danger and crush the jade pendant, I will descend to help you. Family rules are not as good as taking care of your safety. Thank you, Master. Xia Guixuan's heart moved slightly, thinking that once this master recognized someone, he was really attentive. It was really a lovely traditional master-disciple concept. Either he didn't recognize him, or he would treat him like a son, and an important sustenance of inheritance. In fact, many of this master's ideas are very classical. Even though he is now speaking modern language, it is difficult to change his essence. She thought about it and suddenly smiled. In fact, there are rewards for completing the assessment. I will see if I can take this opportunity to ask the dragon god for a drop of blood to give to the master. Are you still thinking about this? Just an assessment to exchange for the dragon's blood. Don't think about it. Xia Guixuan rubbed her head. You go and do your work. Xia Guixuan watched Xia Guixuan's figure fade away with a dim look in her eyes, knowing that he had left. It's not impossible to exchange blood. It's just that the assessment target will be increased tenfold. Xia Guixuan grabbed the unconscious mirror. Magic mirror. Magic mirror. Do you think I can do it? The magic mirror turned dizzy and didn't answer. Xia Guixuan originally wanted to ask about the internal situation of Zelter and take a walk, but after seeing the 1000-prism mirror and Lu away, he gave up this idea. If the invasion of Kanglong Star by Qianling Fantasy Realm was not an accident, not accidentally discovering that a civilization far away habitually wants to invade, but there was a clear direction to come to this star field to find cells, then it is definitely not just Kanglong Star that was invaded across the boundary. There must be some in the Zelter star field. Just like the head of state Liu Ziyan, the kind of people who are possessed by a lurking seed are generally difficult to distinguish because of their lack of cultivation. According to Long Aiao's performance, it is very likely that she didn't know. In this case, there is no need for me to go in and cause trouble, but to alert the snake. It is better to sit back and watch the clouds rise. Maybe it will attract a big fish. It seems that everything is fine now. Should I go back and teach Shang Zhaoi, who did something stupid, and Long Aiao's kind soul in her soul see a lesson? The distant star field is just a stone's throw away for Xia Guixuan, a regular space-time plane traveler. This kind of arbitrary space jump is not convenient if he brings Ling Moxa with him as before. If he is alone, he can go wherever he wants within a certain range. Between the little mushroom star and the blue dragon star, this category could not be surpassed. Being alone is indeed comfortable. A state of mind that allows you to travel freely without any worries is absolutely the criterion for cultivation in a certain period of time, and it is not uncommon to be regarded as the only correct way. So seek detachment and freedom. But now Xia Guixuan feels that this state is a bit awkward. When you are used to the little slave girl bowing her head and serving you with a fragrant aroma. When you experience the hustle and bustle of the Steel City, the weak marshal in military uniform grits his teeth and caters to you with resentment. When you think of a little fox at home humming and slurping a drink in front of his chest, and smiling and shouting darling when he sees you. You will indeed feel that being alone is a kind of loneliness, a feeling of missing something. Yin and Yang are in harmony, and the Tao is also. Not only in Yin and Yang itself, but also in many elements, which cannot even be analyzed one by one with reason for a while. After leaping across the boundaries of time and space, and crossing tens of thousands of light years, Xia Guixuan, who was traveling and exhausted to find his wife, had not yet arrived physically, but his mind had already arrived, accurately finding the mind attached to the little fox's water drop necklace, and saw her whom he had not seen for a long time. Then he was almost blown away at the first sight, suspecting that he had seen the wrong person. A charming vixen, dressed in a palace dress, leaned on the soft couch, with her slender hands supporting her temples, with a smile on her face, but also with a hint of majesty. In front of him was a vast group of fox tribes, wolves, and other beast-like descendants of gods with similar appearances, each with a human figure and animal ears, kneeling and bowing their heads. Greetings, Your Majesty, Xia Guixuan, Your Majesty. Soon he heard the little fox's voice, charming to the bone, but with a hint of frost in his tone. Father God gave you the sacred mountains and rivers, natural materials and treasures, for you to lie on them and sleep. Xia Guixuan, is there something wrong with this? Aren't you the one who wants to sleep like this the most? Ahem, this is a transition chapter, it's a bit short, so I'll just leave it as it is for now. I'll try to update it tonight. Chapter 220, Selling Drinks to Zelt. Xia Guixuan even suspected for a moment whether the fox was possessed by the Fox King, but the water drop necklace he gave her did not give any warning, which was not scientific. This was not cultivation. He didn't show up yet, hiding aside and watching. But the Langaya elder said, Your Majesty, it is because we don't have a leader to coordinate us that we dare not act rashly and don't know what to do, so we must have a king? Okay, let's not talk about you. Yin Xiaoru sneered, why do I see others, Tengain Huaying dare to occupy Lingshan, or call themselves independent people, or open mountain gates, and the vast atmosphere is like the development of the primitive wilderness. You obviously also have small leaders of various tribes, and some of them have much higher cultivation than them. Why don't you do this? Langaya said embarrassedly. The previous king abolished the practice of establishing each tribe, saying that it was forced to divide the sects and make each for themselves, and a mess could not be governed. After the previous king abolished it, we were indeed strong for a time, so we have continued the tradition to this day. Those who robbed mountain gates everywhere have forgotten the ambition of the previous king, and they are all grabbing resources under the instruction of Hunan. Do you have pig brains? Yin Xiaoru patted the couch and jumped up. This is a different time, this is a truth that all pigs know. Oh, wait, everyone in the pig tribe, I'm not scolding you. Forget it, what's wrong with scolding you? You are all the same, a group of subordinates. Yin Xiaoru stood up and paced back and forth, angrily said, at that time, after 20,000 years of fighting, many spiritual veins were exhausted, spiritual mountains were damaged, and resources were insufficient. How could they establish their own sects and continue to fight with each other? In addition, the contradictions have shifted, and it is not the time to play by themselves. There are Zelter outside and humans in the north, so they need to unite. What about now? Langaya said hesitantly. Now, it is the same, bullshit. Yin Xiaoru jumped up and down in anger. Human warships have gone to Slorg for a tour, and the loudspeakers are playing war songs, saying that their Marshal Gongsun has returned triumphantly, and Ling Moxa can be on camera, and you are still standing here in a daze. Langaya, isn't it a sign of the coming war? This is a sign of the great universe's pioneering. Humans are already ahead, Yin Xiaoru said angrily. I thought I didn't read, but I didn't expect there are a bunch of illiterates here. I'm giving you a company, but you have such a low sense of smell. It's like when others start making watch chips, you're still studying which mobile phone is competing with you for sales. It's a miracle that your broken company doesn't go bankrupt. Speaking of resources, my sin, the great Father God created all things with one thought, just to solve your resource dilemma and let you let go and fly. Yin Xiaoru was very disappointed. You threw my sin's kindness into the mud ditch? I can't beat you to death. As he said this, he took off his small embroidered shoes angrily and threw them at the crowd. A group of people dispersed with a bang, and the small shoes jumped on the ground twice and didn't move. People looked carefully. Yin Xiaoru was hopping on one foot while holding her bare feet. Help me pick them up. A little fox trembled and helped her pick up her shoes. Yin Xiaoru put on her shoes while cursing. You said before that if the name is not right, then the words will not flow. Soul Abyss will not care about the Shang priest. If the successor of the Fox King is here, Soul Abyss will not dare to act rashly. I believed you. What about now? Now, someone hesitated. Your Majesty has no instructions except scolding. Yin Xiaoru froze in her shoes. Silence. Xia Guixuan almost laughed out loud. As if the pause button was pressed and the video was played again, Yin Xiaoru took a deep breath and sat back on the couch. You want an order, right? The monsters bowed their heads. We obey the king's orders. The king's orders, Yin Xiaoru repeated, and her attitude became lazy again. What you want is now legitimate. The descendants of gods now have a king. In other words, theoretically, the 3 continents of Kanglong are all mine, right? In name, Hun Yuan must also obey orders. Even if we compete with you for territory, we can only do so in writing, which is similar to business competition, and there can't be any real armed conflict, right? Shang's Haoi, who had been standing aside with his eyes closed to rest, finally opened his eyes. Yes. He doesn't dare to conflict with you at all. You are not only the nominal heir to the king, but also the father gods. Yin Xiaoru looked at her, and Shang's Haoi stopped talking. Yin Xiaoru didn't argue with her, and said leisurely, Tisk, such a big momentum. If I had this foundation to start a company, I would laugh my teeth off. From today on, you will divide the work according to your different specialties, either occupy the sacred mountain, or dig for natural treasures, or organize people to explore the secret realm, or cultivate talents of all races, roll out all lines, and calculate your KPI. What is KPI? For example, if you are good at cultivating and practicing, it's okay. If you break through 1 Kinksan under your command, it counts as 1 point. Break through 1 Tengayan, it counts as 10 points. Break through 1 Huayang, it counts as 100 points. Every month you have to complete 1,000 points of targets for me. If you fail to achieve it once, it will be shameful to report it nationwide. If you fail to achieve it 3 times, someone else will do it. If you achieve it, I will give you a lot of rewards, and you will be promoted if you exceed the target many times. Who wants to be the Minister of Personnel? No, who wants to be the Minister of Personnel of our demon country? Let's see who gets more points after a year. You need a place to train talents, right? Go grab it. Occupy the place where there is no one, and compete with people where there are people. Whether it's a gamble or a fight of magic, draw a line. If you can win, gamble. If you can't, buy. My warehouse is full of crystal stones. No matter what method you use, you will get 1,000 points for occupying a territory. Do you want to be a general of the demon country? Let's talk about KPI. Don't have enough territory? Go occupy Zelter. Land on a mining planet before humans, and you will get 10,000 points. Want to spread your sect and establish a way? Go and establish as many sects as you can. Whoever can establish it will be rewarded. It's better to fool all the demons for me. If you have the ability, go to Zelter to preach. Whether it is Teaideo or Tenyardeo, if you can make the Zelshan people recognize a way, you will get 10,000 points. If you have the ability to colonize by preaching, I, the Demon King, will let you do it. Learn from the missionaries on the mother planet. Sister Shuang will temporarily serve as the executive officer, and let Hun Yuan sit in the chair and work together. You can be the Demon King, and you can also calculate according to KPI. If the score is high enough, I will give up my position. Isn't it just a board of directors? You can be the chairman if you want to be the chairman. Do you have the ability? The ability to fight internally? Go and confront Zelter. Even if there is a palace fight in a company, there must be external performance. Put it in a planetary demon country, and you can only stare. Yin Xiaoru put her hands on her waist and pointed forward. Let my company have such a good foundation. I can sell beverages to Zelter. There was silence. I don't know how much they understood. Actually, they should understand. The descendants of gods and humans have been interacting with each other for many years. They have lived together and learned new things. No one can understand these words. It's just that no one thinks it can be used in this way. But now think about it, it seems that it can be used. Because the premise is too outrageous. This is the descendant of the Fox King, the beloved concubine of the Father God. Theoretically the entire planet belongs to her, the resources are controlled by herself, and the performance is defined by herself. What is there to fight for? If you want to fight, fight for KPI. If it's not enough, just focus on Zelter. It seems to be true. Yin Xiaoru lazily supported his forehead. In fact, our target was originally Zelter. Are you trying to figure out how to divide the fortune that the Father God sent to you? Are you all giant babies? You still have some shame. After the meeting, the descendants of the gods slowly withdrew from the hall, some understanding and some not, whispering to each other, discussing the magical and elegant politics of the new king. I don't know how much of it can really be achieved. But Xia Guixuan, who was watching, always felt that it seemed as if a wheel was starting to start, as if a torrent was about to pour out from the Kanglong star, converge with human warships, and destroy the star field. Until everyone left, the hall slowly became empty. Xiaoru looked at Yin Xiaoru in surprise and asked in a low voice, Is it the plan that the Father God gave you before he left? Yin Xiaoru lay on the couch a little tiredly, muttering, Cindy didn't say. What do you really not understand? Only when the whip of KPI is whipped, can the capitalists sleep well. If they all sleep well, how can I sleep? Chapter 221, Fox fakes his father's power. Little Demon King. You can sleep in my arms, Xia Guixuan's voice came from the void. Upon hearing this voice, Yin Xiaoru suddenly jumped up from her prone position, turned her head and looked around. Xiaoru took a step back, his face pale and his head lowered without saying a word. Yin Xiaoru looked around but didn't see anyone, but suddenly felt a strong embrace around her waist, and soon there was a familiar touch behind her. Xia Guixuan's figure solidified, and he appeared directly behind her soft couch and hugged her directly into his arms. Yin Xiaoru blinked her eyes, thinking it was quite romantic. This guy is getting smarter. No. It seems that he practiced this on other women. Yin Xiaoru's face darkened, and he said sternly, There is a rapist who sneaked into my bed. Why didn't Priest Shuang chase him out? The rapist said, Priest Shuang, please go out for a while. You are not allowed to go far away. Just guard the door. Yin Xiaoru, Shang Xiaoai. He felt something was wrong and felt very humiliated. But Shang Xiao ran out of the door without saying a word, and drove away the gatekeeper. Your Majesty wants to go into seclusion. I will guard it myself. You go. Watching the two little foxes leave in confusion, Shang Xiao covered his face, ready to face the punishment that was bound to come. Yin Xiaoru turned around and glared at Xia Guixuan, but Xia Guixuan just smiled. After glaring for a few seconds, Yin Xiaoru couldn't bear it anymore and said in a bad mood, Are you enjoying cheating, President Yin? You are enjoying being the king. Your beverage company has been ignored for so long, won't something happen? Do you have to work overtime for a few months after you go back? Yin Xiaoru had a blank expression, change jobs. The company here is much bigger. A mere beverage company. As she spoke, her face fell and she cried, That's my hard work. Woo woo woo. It's all because of you. The little fox turned around and burrowed into Xia Guixuan's arms, pretending to cry. Xia Guixuan didn't know how much of her fake crying was real, and how much was just an opportunity to act coquettish, so he could only pat her back with a helpless smile. You can refuse. I don't know how you can become a king so quickly. Didn't I say that I just came to see the status of the descendants of gods? Yin Xiaoru said angrily, Who can stand it? It feels like a group of people are sleepwalking, without goals, without hope, in a daze, and even don't know what they are practicing. Confused? Yes, I am confused. Yin Xiaoru sighed. Actually, I can understand. At that time, mother. Well, when the Fox King was there, the momentum was just right. There was a formless demon king, 4 formless priests, tens of thousands of Kainan, and countless Huayang. The cultivators were spread all over the 3 continents and 4 seas, and they were extremely powerful. There is also the layout of the Xiandao sect in human society. Looking at the bad behavior of the upper class of humans, I am afraid that there is really a trend of unification, but it came to an abrupt end with the death of the Fox King. It's like the spine was pulled out. Xia Guixuan was also thinking that the reason why Long Aiao's evil thoughts were the strongest was not only the result of his merger with Queen Zelter, but it might be because his resentment and obsession were difficult to dispel. If there was another world, such a person would often become the most vicious evil ghost. It was not easy for Long Aiao's evil thoughts to be so rational. Yin Xiaoru didn't know what he was thinking, and continued with a sigh. Later, the descendants of gods turned this anger into hatred towards humans, which was not bad. In the end, they fought with Daxia for more than 20 years, and finally said that the one who thought killed the Fox King was not a human, but a monster from the Qianling fantasy world. Even their two important priests were spies whose bodies were taken over. The anger that had been suppressed for more than 20 years was suddenly released, and they were at a loss. Xia Guixuan said, "Isn't this something we already know? Otherwise, why would I give them good fortune? It is to cheer them up. Did you see it? It feels different. When I saw the little girl with fox ears and fox tail who looks exactly like us, her eyes that should have been lively and smart were blank. Practicing is like completing homework. I don't know why. It feels so awkward." Yin Xiaoru leaned on his chest and whispered, "Then there is external pressure, human. They are also confused and helpless in the demonic path, but it is their instinct to do selfish and cruel things. If these little girls are still so confused, when the demonic path sweeps over, there is no need to say what their fate will be." Xia Guixuan couldn't help but say, "Why do you make it sound like there are only little girls here?" "Because I only have little girls in my eyes," Yin Xiaoru said confidently. "I can't see those pig-headed and dog-headed people." Xia Guixuan, "In fact, it's because of soft-heartedness and empathy, and the little fox has shown from the beginning that a big sister who takes care of the little demon is the innate belonging and responsibility inherited from the spirit of the Fox King's self. The fate with him, Xia Guixuan, can be said to have started from this. Xia Guixuan can't stand the feeling of being taken care of by others. So this time when she returns, is she no longer Yin Xiaoru? Still, she has never changed. But it can also be said that she is not. She is no longer a small president of a company that makes medicines and beverages, but the most powerful demon king in the entire Kanglong Star, at least the most powerful in terms of ruling the population. If the population of Daxia humans is insufficient and therefore has many limitations, then the population of the descendants of gods is much larger, spread across the 3 continents, multiplying by hundreds of millions. Once there's a guiding ideology or a cohesive goal, the potential that will burst out will be very terrifying. Guangxin Jiu would not want to see the descendants of gods have a recognized king. If it was Shangzhou or Hunyuan, she would definitely be very alert and might even start a war because of it. But if it was Yin Xiaoru, as Xia Guixuan said to Guangxin Jiu before, this is a little fox with a belly full of human recognition. It is God's will. Yin Xiaoru added, if Sister Shang becomes the king, the most direct problem is that the demonic path will not accept it, but I am the only one who can do it. Hunyuan doesn't even dare to look at me straight in the eye. This external pressure on them is just a thorn in the company with some ability for me. If used well, I can be a catfish internally and a fierce general externally. So this position is really only for me, the most efficient and most realistic. Tisk. Actually, I have always underestimated the little fox. She runs a company in Sangyu, and the conditions are actually quite poor. The Yin family does not support her and even holds her back. There are also the Zhou family and others who are in her covetously. She doesn't even have a talent she can use. What about Brother Xiang? Even so, she was made into a star in the business world, and her drinks were sold to Beijing. She is indeed quite capable. It's just that her daily look is too deeply rooted in people's hearts, and they always forget that she is actually a President Yin, a smart fox who can always see the essence and has a clear mind. Feeling that Xia Guixuan was somewhat surprised, Yin Xiaoru looked up with a smile. By the way, am I taking advantage of my father's power? Xia Guixuan lifted her chin and said with a smile, so do you want to call me Father God, or, how can you want to be a father every day? You are just a... Yin Xiaoru looked around like a thief, and whispered in his ear, Dad. Xia Guixuan instantly felt a warm current surging up, and he couldn't stop it. Yin Xiaoru's lips rubbed from his ear to the side of his face, and then slowly rubbed across the corner of his lips. The biggest problem now, is that my practice is not enough to convince the public. Just having a backstage is not enough to make me do what I want. Father God, would you like to give me some more rain and dew? Xia Guixuan couldn't bear it any more, and flipped her over on the couch. Tell me, Using this couch as a throne, are you deliberately trying to seduce this father god? This is the habit of the former Fox King. Could it be that she wants to seduce the father god? Xia Guixuan said meaningfully. Anyway, let's teach her a lesson first. Shang Zhaoi squeezed his legs outside the door. I knew it had begun. In the Soul Sea, a voice began to whimper. Zhaoi, why is that feeling coming again? Shut up. Shang Zhaoi is no longer loyal now. He has been deceived. I bear it, you bear it too. This has just begun, thanks to the This Is Too Watery Brother Alliance. I am not watery. Chapter 222 What is it like to be in love? From the perspective of whether the cultivation is good enough to convince others. Yin Xiaoru is actually quite good enough to convince others. No kidding. Although her absolute strength is still very low, her leap forward speed. She is the only one that all the descendants of the gods, including Hun Yuan, have seen. Before, she was a little fox who had just practiced Qinzhen for a short time, but when they met again a few days later, she had already become a pervert. She overturned the cognition of all the practitioners. It is not that there have been similar cases in the past where people have obtained natural treasures or elixirs and have ascended to heaven overnight, but that kind of sudden rise often leads to unstable cultivation. Although they seem to be soaring, their actual level of performance may not be comparable to Qinzhen. People who are challenged by higher-level people are usually like this. But Yin Xiaoru is not like that. She is more stable than anyone else. Not only is she stable, but she also retains a strong potential for breakthrough. It seems that as long as she is given some time to settle down, Wei Yang will be right in front of her. The descendants of the gods simply cannot believe that there is such a person. They can only think that the descendants of the Fox King are particularly excellent and their cultivation is advancing by leaps and bounds. Hun Yuan vaguely understands, and Shang Zhaoi completely understands. There is nothing else, just daily maturity. Practicing with someone, what does that mean? First of all, that was the first time someone had truly practiced with someone since he started practicing the method of closing his essence and ki, which was hundreds of thousands of years of essence. That was not what a certain slave girl gained from practicing with someone. The energy gained from practicing with someone was so terrifying that it was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. No natural treasures could compare to this, because it was the heavenly Dao itself. Practicing with a heavenly Dao. I was slept with by the heavenly Dao. So fast forward to the second part, it was not just energy gained, it was instilled by the heavenly Dao. All the enlightenment of the Dao, shared with you. No need to feel, no need to pursue, directly the harmony of yin and yang, circulating back and forth in your heart. As long as you are not a fool, you are enough to understand the laws that others have gained from 10,000 years of seclusion. How could a mere storm cloud be the upper limit? Otherwise, why did Ling Moxu fawn on others, seek punishment, and cheat for food and drink? Because this has exceeded the temptation that normal people can imagine, and anyone who aims to practice cultivation can hardly resist it. But when Ling Moxu really practiced with someone, she realized that the effect of cheating for food and drink was just a younger brother. One can imagine what Yin Xiaoru got from the first soup. Cindy, the rain stopped and the clouds dispersed. Yin Xiaoru hugged Xia Guixuan's neck with misty eyes and murmured, I suddenly thought of something. You are like this. In fact, you can get a group of people to favor you with just a snap of your fingers. They wishful thinking. I was wondering if you were a straight man before because you didn't want to take advantage of others. It has nothing to do with that, Xia Guixuan said with a straight face. Because if I really want to play, I can collect any energy and rules, just play, then they will all be defeated. Yin Xiaoru blinked her eyes, realized what he meant, and laughed out loud. So, does the little fox want to thank ends? It's meaningful if it's not for that, Xia Guixuan said, and suddenly realized, hey, if you mean, you won't be jealous. Yin Xiaoru's eyes were a little complicated, and after a while, she whispered, whether it is human civilization or the cultivation civilization of the descendants of gods, I have experienced that I feel that at least one aspect is the same. Which aspect? The strong prey on the weak. Some of it is just on the surface, and some is hidden in the bones, Yin Xiaoru said. In fact, the situation in Zelda is more exaggerated. It is said that there is a more typical slavery system, and the queen's brain-controlled management. Well, Xia Guixuan said, yes, that's why, the queen will not give up the beastman easily. That is actually her most solid foundation and energy feedback. The strong possess more, Is it not the law of the universe? Yin Xiaoru didn't know much about Zelter's internal affairs. She was diverging philosophy. In a sense, are the constraints of morality and law the constraints of the strong on the weak? Xia Guixuan was stunned and laughed. Tisk, little fox, don't be possessed by the devil. Is this possession? Xia Guixuan shook his head slightly. No, but don't use it as a principle, otherwise it will be. Yin Xiaoru nodded as if she understood. Otherwise you can treat anyone as a pig or a dog. Yes, how others do is their own business. I am practicing the way of immortality, and I should have my own rules. If I exceed the rules, I will be a devil. So your rules? Yin Xiaoru showed his true colors. How many do you want? Huh? Xia Guixuan was dumbfounded. You've said so much nonsense, but in the end you just want to ask this? Puchy. Yin Xiaoru rolled over with laughter, rolled several times and then stopped, continued to hug his neck and looked into his eyes faintly. Don't abandon me just because there are too many women in the future. Xia Guixuan hesitated. What you said is very similar to what the heroines in those novels say. No matter how many women you have, as long as you have me in your heart. How many novels have you read? Basically, I have scanned the database of classmate Xiaoji, and some of the words are terribly stupid. Yin Xiaoru smiled. Whether this sentence is stupid or not, depends on the person. After all, it is still the law of the jungle, and not taking it as a rule is also known in my heart. Xia Guixuan still thinks that the little fox has grown up. When she was the king, a few words could make the 3 continents surge, and her perspective on things would certainly not be the same as that of a small boss. The two finally got up and dressed. Outside the door, Shang Zhaoi trembled and slowly stood up from the squatting position with his knees hugged. They finally finished. Long you corrected. That's called post-event tenderness. It is a must. Otherwise it will make people feel very ruthless. Shang Zhaoi, why are you so skilled? Your Majesty, to survive in human society, you should watch more movies. You wear a black robe and pretend to be a mysterious man every day. This is the difference between you and me. Your Majesty, your personality has collapsed a long time ago. So stop trying to hold on, okay? Zhaoi, why are you so mean to me? Are you jealous? Shang Zhaoi was so angry that he started to swear. I'm jealous of your sister. Long you thought seriously. I don't know if Xiaoru is my sister or daughter. Shang Zhaoi rubbed his forehead and stopped talking. There was no way to communicate. Inside the house, Yin Xiaoru was putting on a cumbersome palace dress and pouted. I don't know why you wear ancient Chinese costume every day. It's very troublesome. Pursuing convenience and efficiency is different from pursuing beauty. I think you looked very handsome in a suit and tie, mainly because you are handsome. Xia Guixuan glanced at her. Actually, you are saying this because you miss your own beverage company, right? Well, Yin Xiaoru sat on the edge of the bed a little listlessly. Although being a demon king sounds very glorious, I always feel that my whole life is messed up, and there are many things I am not used to. Woo. There's not even a satellite signal here. I can't even go online and flirt with Sister Yen. We can have some basic cooperation with humans. The situation is different now. As a demon king, this is the direction you can work towards. Make the environment closer to what you are used to. As for your company, I have a suggestion. When all kinds of signals are covered, your company can open this side. At that time, you can really let people sell your beverages to Zelter. Each bottle sold will count as 1 point of KPI. Yin Xiaoru pinched her collar and blinked. Xia Guixuan tapped her nose. Cindy, you are so great. Yin Xiaoru rushed over, and the clothes they had just put on became a mess again. It's not about whether Cindy is great or not, but about doting on her. For something that should have been boring and ridiculous, she actually gave serious advice, which means she is doting on her to the bone. Shang Zhaoi had just stood up for a short while when he stumbled and almost fell to the ground. He was extremely angry and said, "Are you guys done yet? You are already dressed and here you go again. The orders just issued have not been formed into detailed rules at all, and a lot of people are waiting for His Majesty to hold a meeting to discuss them in detail. How many days do you want to stay in bed?" Chapter 223 Father God and Priests. Shang Zhaoi is still a little confused about how he cultivated and grew up under the heavenly Dao that would materialize and sleep with girls. In fact, when Shang Zhaoi first met Xia Guixuan, he did not have this tragic feeling. At that time, the Father God was indifferent, powerful, playing with time and space, tracing the past, and omnipotent. At that time, she could not break free from his grasp. Although Shang Zhaoi was frightened, She actually felt that the father god should be like this. She inherited the ambition of the previous king, had the wish to tear the sky apart, and found someone to pretend to be the father god. She had no reverence and blasphemed the heavenly Dao. If she died at the hands of the father god, it would even be considered a worthy death. The father god's anger is justified. She believed that Hunan felt the same way at the time. Hunan deceived the father god and coaxed the heavenly Dao for his own selfish desires. Under the grasp of the father god, his 9 heads twisted into one head. Although the lesson was painful, he was convinced in his heart, both respectful and fearful. The consensus is that the father god should be like this, and this is the heaven that we both revere and want to break free from. So Xiaoyu had tried to wash away the father's bad feelings at that time, and went to help him deal with the dark demon, hoping to atone for his sins. At that time, riding was not really a special contact in Xiaoyu's mind. It was normal for people and horses. But now the father has become like this. He has sex with girls all day long. That little fox grew up under his system, and is almost his own descendant. If the father had such a nature, what would it be if he let him ride at that time? He did not hide his desire to continue riding. What would it be? Xiaoyu wanted to cry but had no tears. These days, she has been doing things in a muddle, which can be regarded as related to this messy mentality. It is simply the real confusion of the collapse of faith. The confusion of the entire descendants of God can almost be regarded as being affected by her as a leader. Yin Xiaoru did not see this, and thought it was all the objective influence of the environment. God knows how much the leader's mentality affects the people. I don't know when the voice inside slowly stopped again. Xiaoyu squatted in the corner with his knees hugged, and he was so soft that he could not move. Xia Guixuan's figure vaguely appeared in front of her. He was squatting in front of her and looking at her curiously. He stretched out his hand and shook it in front of her. Hey, Xiaoyu looked at him in confusion, and his lifeless eyes gradually returned to normal. He said reluctantly, Father God. It can be seen that he swallowed the next sentence. Are you done enjoying it? And said instead, where's His Majesty? Xia Guixuan smiled and said, the Majesty in your soul sea has fainted. Xiaoyu gritted his teeth. I'm talking about the new His Majesty. She's putting on makeup. Prepare to hold a more detailed trial method seminar. Do you want to participate? Xiaoyu reluctantly perked up. Of course. Actually, I don't think you want to. Xia Guixuan said, I used to think you were a leader. The layout of the Xiandao sect and the gathering of flags with the impersonation of the Father God were quite heroic. Later, I found out that you were just continuing Long Gaiao's plan for the Xiandao sect. Impersonating the Father God was Xiang Yuxun's bad idea, and it was not a plan led by you. Xiaoyu slowly stood up with the help of the door. Yes, I have always felt that I need a king, and have never thought about becoming independent. You are a good executor, not a planner. Xia Guixuan touched his chin and looked at her, suddenly smiled. It is indeed better to return to your purity. Xiaoyu said calmly, haven't I resumed my position as assistant now? The descendants of gods now are facing an institutional and ideological change, and you are just a pure warrior. This kind of thing doesn't need you at all. You just need to execute. Xiaoyu was silent. Do you have a feeling of being abandoned by the times? Xia Guixuan said, I believe that when you saw the advent of humans in the early years, you also had this feeling, and finally chose to separate. Xiaoyu suddenly shouted, what we are guarding is your Tao. Xia Guixuan smiled slightly. They? Who do you mean? Does Long Gaiao count? She is probably the person who has had the greatest influence on you, Xiaoyu said. Countless monks who aim to seek the Tao. Your Majesty is of course among them. But your Majesty has accepted Zelt's model without any obstacles and enjoys it. No matter whether it is energy research or flesh and blood brain control, does it have anything to do with my Tao? Xiaoyu widened his eyes. What are you talking about? Your Majesty has been in my soul sea, and has become weaker, smaller. What does it have to do with Zelt? Xia Guixuan felt that she originally wanted to follow the word weak with wise, and it was really not easy to hold it back. Good and evil are divided into two. Evil thoughts are the obsession, and the main body occupies too much. This kind soul in the Sea of Souls originally judged that it was missing a lot of things. It would either become a madman or a mentally retarded person. Although the reason was not thought about that, the diagnosis was correct. He felt a little sympathetic. To be honest, there was nothing to punish Xiaoyu for his mess this time. They could not be blamed for this. If anyone was to blame, it was Xiaoyu's blind loyalty. But was blind loyalty wrong? For Xia Guixuan, who was thinking about collecting a mount, blind loyalty was a good thing. Don't change it. These words were not said directly after all, but just said, if you say that a cultivator who aims to ask for the Tao, I am one. What is asking for the Tao? Recognize the true meaning of the essence of the universe, transcend the universe, and grasp the root, and everything along the way is just one of the ways to this end. You are only sticking to the old road I have walked before, not my Tao. Shang's Haoi was stunned. She, who had reached the state of no form, could really understand what this meant. I came out of retreat on my own. Why didn't I come to the god's side, but lived with humans? I seem to have told you about this. Even I am seeking innovation, change and knowledge, let alone you. Xia Guixuan smiled. When you know that exploration itself is the Tao, you will break away from the rut. There are two sides to this story. Taking a step back is called conservatism, and taking a step forward is called persistence. I have always believed that only those who persist can achieve success. If there is another taking on Kanglong Star, it should be you. Shang's Haoi said hesitantly. Is Father God still guiding me like he did in Xiaoru's house? Yes, you call me Father God for one day, and I will guide you for one day. This is natural, Xia Guixuan said. Your confusion may lead to the collapse of your Tao heart in the long run. I can't bear to see it, Shang's Haoi said. Doesn't Father God want to punish me for my previous misdeeds of attacking humans? Xia Guixuan asked curiously. Why should I punish you for humans? Shang's Haoi muttered. I always feel that you are trying to be nice with bad intentions. You just want to ride. I do want to ride you. Xia Guixuan did not hide it, but not now. Shang's Haoi said woodenly. Does this depend on the time? We have to wait until tonight, right? Xia Guixuan, Shang's Haoi. The two looked at each other for a while, and then Xia Guixuan sighed. I feel that the image of me in your heart has become very strange, Shang's Haoi said with a straight face. Father God has discredited me himself, Xia Guixuan said lightly. I just don't reject that kind of thing now, and take it into part of my heart, instead of pursuing that kind of thing. Of course, I don't care what you think of me. When I said it's not now, I mean that I'm waiting for the day when you personally break your inner demons. That is when you will get rid of the old reigns, Shang's Haoi asked curiously. Father God means, Xia Guixuan said lightly, the day when you break through the Zel temple, Shang's Haoi will be Shang's Haoi, not a dim shadow. Shang's Haoi remained silent. Your Majesty, a guard ran in from outside and saw Shang's Haoi, and hurriedly said, Ah, Priest Shang, the human envoy has come, saying that he congratulates our new king on his accession to the throne. Shang's Haoi narrowed his eyes. The human news is so fast. Which envoy is it? It is said to be Yan Wuyu, the deputy commander of the three armies. The guard handed over the document. This is an official document. Clang. Yin Xiaoru, who was pretending to be dressed up in the palace but was actually eavesdropping on the conversation between Xia Guixuan and Shang's Haoi, opened the palace door and ran out. Sister Yan. Yan. Outside the palace gate, Yin Xiaoru braked suddenly and backed in step by step. This pink and tender sister, who are you? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Best Friend. A girl with a fiery red ponytail strode into the palace gate and looked around. Oh, the Demon King's palace is so small, it's not much different in size from your ecological park. Yin Xiaoru looked like a Sima and continued to retreat. I thought you were successful, but now you don't look that good, Xiaoru. The girl strode forward to hug her. Yin Xiaoru turned around and wanted to run. She didn't run away. Tengain versus Kainin, she was crushed and couldn't find her way. The girl was like a ghost. She stepped forward and hugged Yin Xiaoru tightly and kissed her. You are still so sweet and soft. Yin Xiaoru struggled. Monster, give me back Sister Yan. Don't struggle, idiot. Don't you just don't want to admit that I have become more youthful and beautiful than you? Ha ha ha. Yin Xiaoru stood still, turned her head stiffly and glanced at the girl for a long time. Don't laugh. I can see the peach in my throat. Which cartoon did you come from? In fact, Yin Xiaoru herself is also very young. Although she is 24 years old, she looks only 17 or 18 years old, just like Gongsun Jiu is 29 years old, but she looks like a young military flower in her 20s. Most of the people today look young. Because of genetic evolution, the cells age slowly, the lifespan is also improved, and they look better and better. At worst, they look like ordinary people, and there are almost no ugly people. This is the same, and it is also the fundamental source of motivation for humans to pursue genetic evolution. But Yan Wuyu is over 100 years old. Originally, she looked like a 30-year-old queen, which was considered to be well-maintained and envied by others. Before practicing dual cultivation with Cindy, Yin Xiaoru felt that according to the training efficiency of her genetic evolution, she would definitely be an old woman when she lived to 60, and she was already envious of Yan Wuyu. As a result, it was even more cruel this time, and she could become younger. She was just a 16 or 17-year-old high school girl, and she looked youthful and energetic no matter how you looked at her. She actually lived younger than herself. The most annoying thing is the temperament. Everyone is in their 20s or 30s. No matter how young their faces are, they look like queens, just like when I hooked up with Cindy. Wasn't I a charming big sister? I thought so. Yan Wuyu used to be weathered, and she really had the temperament of a veteran who had rolled in the battlefield of blood and fire. What is she like now? A young girl who just came to the female soldiers' camp for training, rushing towards the instructor with youthful vigor? How can even her temperament change? It's so jealous, and the friendship is over. Jealousy caused the little fox's cell wall to separate, and she muttered incoherently, "Why do you, a spirit of fire, need such detailed human body modeling? This white, tender and pink face that looks like tofu, why is it not a fire face?" Yan Wuyu put her arm around her shoulder and walked in. "You, a fox, have so many details about your human body. At least I still have a little human gene, although I don't know if it still counts as Yin Xiaoru was a little sad. "Sister Yan, what you did before was like cutting off the bones to return to the father and cutting off the flesh to return to the mother. Those who hear it are sad and those who see it will cry." Yan Wuyu said, "I didn't return it to the father. I was born and raised by the Father God. Even my rebirth as an egg was done by the Father God. The friendship is over." Yin Xiaoru shouted, "Someone, get her out of here." Wait. Yan Wuyu whispered in her ear with a smile, "Hey, don't you think I should call you mother?" Yin Xiaoru blinked. "Come to think of it, you always flirted with my Cindy before, but now you can't do it, right? I never really wanted to hook up with him." Yan Wuyu sighed. "As a queen, that kind of thing doesn't really matter. He's powerful and handsome. It's nothing to fall in love with him for a night. You didn't confirm your relationship with him at that time. You said you were a fake boyfriend." Yin Xiaoru glanced at her. "Now it's confirmed. Oh, now I'm a young and invincible beautiful girl. I have to be reserved and can't do things like before." Yin Xiaoru looked up at the sky. "Why do I always feel that it's because there are no girls around him, and there are too many queens, so he deliberately made you like this?" Yan Wuyu was stunned for a moment. This seems to be possible. There really is no young and beautiful girl around Xia Guixuan. Ling Moxu and Yin Xiaoru are both in their 20s. That horse is long-lived, and she is also a big sister. The dragon that appeared at that time was a little lolly. Could it be that the old pervert really made me become like this on purpose? Yan Wuyu stammered. "Anyway, if he bumps into me again, I'll slap him in the face." As she spoke, Yan Wuyu's eyes widened. Looking at the figure leaning against a pillar with his shoulders folded by the gate of the inner palace, her tongue became tied. "Why is he here? This is unscientific." Xia Guixuan laughed. "Who are you slapping?" Yan Wuyu turned and ran. An invisible big hand grabbed her collar. Yan Wuyu ran in vain for a long time, with her shoulders drooping dejectedly. "Father God, please don't." Xia Guixuan, Yin Xiaoru, come on, come in and sit down." Xia Guixuan turned and walked in, muttering to himself, "Why does an old woman have to act like a girl?" Yan Wuyu looked at his back with a fierce look in her eyes and reached out to touch the gun. Yin Xiaoru held her hand tightly and advised hypocritically, "Sister, forget it, everyone here is his people." Yan Wuyu looked around. The palace was not big. A group of fox guards were surrounding it, looking up at the sky with a wooden look. The human followers she brought with her were already dumbfounded. The followers were all strong men in the Special Warfare Division. Everyone made preparations for the mission. The deputy commander of the 3 human armies went to the palace of the gods to congratulate the new king on his ascension to the throne. Shouldn't there be undercurrents, verbal battles, needles hidden in cotton, and all kinds of turbulence? Everyone is ready to die on the battlefield, okay? Why are you here to watch youth campus comedies and ethical dramas about best friends fighting for men? Can you say these things in private? Bang, the palace gate closed, and the three really went to talk in private. Others haven't thought that the new demon king is Xia Guixuan, Yan Wuyu said. Did you see the expressions of 9527 just now? They thought that the demon king was the enemy, but it turned out to be the fox sauce they had been fantasizing about for a long time. They were all dumbfounded. Xia Guixuan said, keep it shut for a short time, don't let them go back and talk nonsense, otherwise it will cause trouble. Xia Guixuan still wants to be a human being in her heart. Yin Xiaoru glanced at him and smiled sweetly. Yes. She still wants to be a human being. Being a demon king even feels like just cause, and it is still difficult to get into the role. The seats of the three people are still the same as when they were on the top of the ecological park, sitting in a triangle. Xia Guixuan's hands can still play with fire. Yan Wuyu's face is stiff, always wondering if his hands will reach out from below again. But no. Xia Guixuan is just making tea. In the hot steam, it seems that the vicissitudes of life have emerged. In fact, it's only a few months. Yin Xiaoru stared at the mist in a trance and whispered, why does it feel so vicissitudes, a rebirth of nirvana, commanding the three armies? One cannot escape the cause and effect, and ascends the throne as king. A pair of best friends who used to fight and only care about how to make potions suddenly found that they were actually the important core of this planet, and their every move was full of ups and downs. And he went from being a reader of the story to entering the story and becoming the fulcrum of everything. Chapter 225. Not the same as it used to be if possible. I don't want to be a king. Yin Xiaoru lay on the table, her fingers unconsciously drawing circles on the tabletop. I want to go home. I bought new sheets last time I went shopping, with panda patterns, very cute. I just washed them and hung them out, but they haven't been collected yet. There's also the ecological park. I don't know if they're lazy when I'm not here. Is that fat tiger going to starve to death? Don't starve to death. I still want to beat it up. It feels so good to beat it. Xia Guixuan, last time I talked about the physical recovery potion. The military approved the batch number. It was very profitable. Later, because of the war, no one cared about it. We still have a backlog of inventory. I don't know if those idiots have dealt with it. I'm so disappointed. Yan Wuyu. As the demon king, you are rich, but you still care about the business of that batch of potions? Are all capitalists like this? This is not a question of capital or not, it's a question of effort. Yin Xiaoru muttered, I really invested a lot of effort and emotion in Sangayu Company, just like my own baby. This place is like an inexplicable inheritance of the family business, although it is also my own choice, it always feels awkward. Xia Guixuan finally said, so I asked you to move the company here. Wuyu came as an envoy, just to negotiate comprehensive cooperation. The two women looked at him sideways, feeling a little powerless to complain. The two tribes that have fought for decades, the so-called envoy and negotiation, turned into chat between two besties. It feels weird no matter how you think about it, but it is the fact. And it is the best solution. No matter which other envoy came, the communication would not be so easy, but it was Yan Wuyu who came, Yin Xiaoru's best friend among the human high-level officials. In fact, signal base stations were set up in various continents before the human descendants of the gods fell out. Later, they fell out completely and were worried about being monitored and kept secret, so the base stations were pushed down. Yan Wuyu was particularly clear about these things. It is not difficult to rebuild on the original site. This kind of basic maintenance even requires robots, not even manpower. In addition, humans are now researching intercontinental teleportation portals. As long as it is done, the whole world will be like one village, and you can get there at any time. Yin Xiaoru asked curiously, there is such a thing? Yan Wuyu glanced at Xia Guixuan. It is said that this is a technology brought back by someone from an alien domain. When the marshal talked about this, he inexplicably collapsed one side of the table. Yin Xiaoru didn't bother to care why the marshal collapsed the table. She cared too much about this intercontinental teleportation. How long will it take for this technology to be realized? Not sure. According to a new half-robot named Luowei, this is even a simple technology and is very easy to realize. I also think that if it can be combined with your teleportation array, it will be even more convenient. This is also one of the things I want to discuss during this mission, Yan Wuyu said with a serious look on his face, but if we really set up an intercontinental portal here, Wouldn't you worry that the human army will occupy the important places of the divine race at any time? Yin Xiaoru said helplessly. It should be that humans are afraid that if we set up a teleportation array, we can also appear at any place at any time. After all, it may not be easy for human mechanized troops to pass through such a gate. We are more mobile. Sign a detailed agreement. I will suffer a little loss on behalf of the divine race and have more restrictions. Yan Wuyu smiled. Hey, are you a demon or a spiritual human? Yin Xiaoru shook her head slightly. Neither. Humans building base stations and portals in various places is in line with the overall direction of my current divine race company. In other words, it is beneficial to me. I can make some concessions for this. Sister Yan, when both parties do not discuss matters on the basis of hatred, it is just purely business. Divine race company. Yan Wuyu had a strange expression on his face, and it took a long time before he said, can I understand that this is a huge leap from feudalism to capitalism? Yin Xiaoru's expression also became strange, and she slowly said, if your head of state and marshal can make sense, then our two countries can also form the Kanglong Star Confederation, which is more advanced than ordinary allies. Xia Guixuan's heart was moved. This fox. If a certain father god is willing to stand up, it would be very simple to directly create a Kanglong empire, but that would be very troublesome for the father god. Our father god is too lazy, and it seems that it can't be done. Yan Wuyu sighed. It's okay now, take it slowly. Maybe one day the confederation will become a federation. As he spoke, he insulted the father god again. Xia Guixuan finally couldn't help it and stretched out his hand to play with fire. Yan Wuyu moved the chair and flew back a long way, his face blushing. Father god, please respect yourself. Xia Guixuan's hand was suspended in the air, and he turned his head stiffly and saw Yin Xiaoru's fiery eyes. Yin Xiaoru flipped the table. Go to hell, scumbag. She just said something like it doesn't matter how many women you have, as long as you have me in your heart. Xia Guixuan squatted at the door with his hands in his pockets. Sure enough, women don't say a word that is true. Next to him, Yan Wuyu squatted with an expressionless face and his hands in his pockets. She was also driven out by the angry demon king. To go to such an extent, he was driven out of the door and squatted outside with the demon queen by the demon king, and it was still in the name of having an affair with the demon queen. It is probably the only one in the history of China and Kanglong Star. In fact, Yin Xiaoru was holding an emergency meeting. The participants included dozens of high-level people from various parties of the descendants of gods, such as Han Yuan and Shang Zhaoi, to formally discuss cooperation with humans, as well as the adaptation and changes in the cooperation between the new policies of the descendants of gods and humans. This really seemed to Yin Xiaoru like a company operation, including the virtue of holding this meeting in a hurry, which was very similar to operating a company board of directors. In short, what this demon king did since he ascended the throne was completely different from the king people knew. But it seems to be very suitable for the current situation. After humans come to negotiate the cooperation between the intercontinental portal and the teleportation array, it becomes even more suitable. It is simply like destiny. You deserve it, Yan Wuyu said. You are right to flirt with her best friend in front of her. If you want to cheat, do it secretly. So do you know that this best friend is you? Didn't I ask you to cheat on me secretly? Yan Wuyu moved away a few feet with disgust. I flirted with you back then, and you were pretending. Now your eyes start to light up when you see me getting younger. It turns out that you despised me for being old. Have you any shame? Who is older than you? Xia Guixuan said angrily. When have my eyes ever lighted up? Then what were you doing just now? Didn't I just do something that was easy to do as before? Times have changed, Father God. Yan Wuyu patted his shoulder casually. Actually, it has nothing to do with whether I am a queen or a girl. The real relationship is that at that time, it was just a momentary hormonal impulse and the touching feeling in loneliness. I was also a little in awe of you, as if I should be subordinate to you. That is not love. After so long, now that I think about it, we are not suitable, Xia Guixuan said unhappily. I never wanted to mess with you. You have been wishful thinking until now. How come I am obsessed with you? Really? Yan Wuyu showed a strange smile. At that time, I was the deputy marshal. Oh, now I am the marshal. When he knocked at the door, why did you change your expression? Why did you push me behind the door so roughly and chew on me? Xia Guixuan was stunned and did not answer for a while. When he tried to recall his mood at that time, he could not think clearly for a while. Was it jealousy? Or was it an unpleasant feeling that something that should belong to him was touched by someone else? The anger towards Gongsun Jiayu started from this. In fact, Gongsun Jiayu's other offenses were not considered many offenses. What did he say when he pressed her on the windowsill in the hotel in Donglan to teach her a lesson? It was not see if you dare to try to leave the father god aside and challenge taking. Instead, he said, let you compete with me for a woman. When I met the marshal this time, he was more distant from me, and even avoided my gaze. Yan Wuyu turned his head with a smile and asked, did you warn him about something? No. Xia Guixuan's eyes also began to avoid him and looked up at the sky. Yan Wuyu also looked up at the sky and whispered, I am beginning to experience a kind of emotion of the god-descended Wu Xiang. Huh? Xia Guixuan didn't react for a moment. Yan Wuyu explained in a low voice, the feeling of everything being under the way of heaven. I don't know whether I should belong to you or break free. Do you think my idea is bad and ungrateful? Xia Guixuan shook his head. It is inevitable that life has evolved to a certain extent. I have seen a lot and it is natural. Yan Wuyu didn't look at him, and his eyes slowly became a little strange as he looked at the sky. So do you regret it? At that time, you didn't want me. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.